Take a look at our starting grid. 28-year-old Clint Boyer will lead him down his second career pole. Beside him, another sophomore driver, Martin Truex Jr. Now, while you watch to see where your favorite driver will be starting, let's visit with our in-race reporter, the driver of the Shell Pennzoil Chevrolet, Kevin Harvick, who starts in 8th position here today.
Hey, Kevin Harvick, Rusty Wallace, ESPN, you got us?
Stand for Rusty.
Buddy, you did a great job getting into Chase, and you won this race last year. But with all that said, what's your biggest concern here today?
Well, we came a lot different than what we did last time here. You know, our car ran really well at Richmond last week. Obviously, we had a little bit of trouble, but overcame that, and everybody's pretty much at a clean sheet of paper right now. So we're just going to race as hard as we can. This is one of our best racetracks, so we gotta make some ground today.
All right, buddy, what corner are you most concerned about? A lot of people talked about different corners giving them problems. What's your worst corner out here?
I think that there's a big bump getting into 3 where they've kind of put a patch back there that kind of makes the wheels lock up getting into turn 3. So that's given me probably the most trouble, probably getting into 3 so far.
All right, man, have a great race today. We'll talk to you later on.
All right, guys, have fun.
Let's hear from the man who will call the race today for Kevin Harvick, his crew chief, Todd Barrier.
Hey, Todd Barrier, Andy Petrie, you got a copy?
Yes, him for Andy, gotcha.
Hey, Todd, now that you're in the chase, how aggressive can you afford to be down there?
You know, we honestly, we got to go out here and win races, so we're going to be aggressive doing that. You know, if it comes to pit strategy, I mean, we qualified decent, we got a good starting spot, we got a good pit stall, but when it comes to the end of this race, I mean, we got to be in the front of this thing to win it, so we're going to be as aggressive as it takes to win. If we got to pit, do no tires, 2 tires, whatever it takes to get this car out front. At the end of this thing, it's a real short race, so we got to have track position, and we're going to push hard as we can.
10-4, Todd. It sounds like it's going to be fun to watch. Good luck.
All right, thank you.
So maybe a little bit of gambling here from some of the folks in the chase. Now let's hear some of those updates, some of the stories we'll be following throughout the day by hearing from 4 of the best pit reporters in the business, starting with Jamie Little.
Well, Doc, we've seen and heard from all top 12 drivers, but reality is there's 31 other drivers in the field, and they're all gunning for a win as well. 2 drivers in particular to keep your eyes on. Dale Earnhardt Jr. It's been 52 races since his last victory. I talked to Tony Eury Jr., his crew chief, and he told me he and Dale want nothing more than to get a victory to say thanks to the team who stuck by him the last few years. Remember, Dale Jr. is on his victory tour, and he's saying so long to DEI. Somebody else to watch, Ryan Newman. He's always a threat here at Loudon. He got his first Cup win here. He got his last Cup victory here just 2 years ago as well. So the reality is, Mike, the pressure is off the rest of the field, and today it's all about the win. Mike?
And Jamie, what about Cinderella? Could we see a fairy tale story emerge in this chase? In the history of the chase, no eventual champion has been seated more than 30 points back. Yet in this edition, there are 7 drivers who are seated 50 or more points behind the #1 seed, Jimmy Johnson. Among them, Denny Hamlin, a guy who won here in New Hampshire back in July. And Kyle Busch, a guy who drives for our Hendrick organization that has won 6 Car of Tomorrow races so far in 2007. There are a host of other drivers who fall into that underdog category. Will one of them be fitted for a glass slipper today? Who knows? After all, this is the Magic Mile. Dave?
Well, Mike, it's a chase given. One of NASCAR's flattest tracks will produce some of the highest drama in the chase. That's right here at New Hampshire. Remember 2004 and 2005? Tony Stewart and Kurt Busch, respectively, had trouble early on, and they never made it back to the top of the chase. Then last year, Kyle Busch hit the wall on lap 3. He was never to chase again. And Jimmy Johnson, he had trouble as well. He had a wreck, and his finish of 39th place meant he didn't see the top of the chase until the final 2 events of the season. Today, with this choice piece of New Hampshire real estate, how will it treat the chase in 12? Alan?
Well, now that we're in this championship chase, the race in all of its elements remains the same. Avoid trouble, have good pit stops, good strategy, and the first one of the checkered flag is still the winner. What changes now is the intensity. Every pass for position on the racetrack, every mistake on pit road or on the speedway costs more than it did just a week ago. Nothing really changes. It all just means a little bit more for these final 10 races. Doc?
Thanks, guys. We'll take our viewers not only inside the race, but inside the chase with 8 high-definition onboard cameras. And there's 01 of Regan Smith. Starts 16th in the Principal Financial Chevrolet. That's July's winner. Denny Hamlin starts 14th in the FedEx Chevy. Matt Kenseth starts 30th in his Roush Fenway Ford. Tony Stewart, a two-time winner here, 6th in the Home Depot Chevrolet. Our in-race report, he's heard from Kevin Harvick. He starts 8th in the Shell Pennzoil Chevy. Jeff Burton, the four-time winner here, starts 23rd in the AT&T Chevy. Watch for him to be a factor early on. Tony Raines, 24th, the Texas Instruments DLP Chevrolet. And, of course, the car number 99, the backup car for Carl Edwards, the Office Depot Ford, starts in 11th position. Looking out the back of our Chevy pace car, you'll be able to see the field bobbing and weaving behind. A couple of sophomore sensations. 07, of course, Clint Boyer, beside him, the Dover winner, Martin Truex Jr. What to watch for, guys? Now, remember, there are 7 drivers of the 12 in this chase that are seeking their very first NASCAR Cup Championship.
And there's the guys that are outside the top 12 are looking to get a win. For them, they just want to spoil the party. So they want to get in there and get a win. And then there's a handful of guys that are still looking for a ride for 08.
You talk about setting the plate for 08. I mean, these guys want to come out of this year, when it's all said and done, with the best pit crews. They got to have some rhythm. They got to have, you know, the finances put together, everything. So, you know, they want to go to the Daytona 500 in 2008, knowing that they're ready to rock and roll and get the job done.
This is a 300-lap race on a track just over a mile, so the length of the race is actually 317 miles. Pit road speed 45 miles an hour, pace car over 150. There's the pit window. There will be a competition yellow at lap 35 because there was no final practice session yesterday due to the rain. A big sports weekend here in New England. Yes, the Red Sox and Yankees coming up tonight. The Patriots playing. But all eyes right now focused on the stage that NASCAR has brought. The chase for the championship. Round 1 of 10. Who's going to become the 2007 NASCAR champion? We'll see who can get a leg up today by winning in front of 100,000 plus at New Hampshire. Pace car peels away, and 2 sophomore sensations, Boyer and Truex, will lead him down. Fans on their feet, here they come for the green flag. Remember, you get 5 points to lead a single lap. 5 more if you can lead the most laps. Clint Boyer in the 07 car is the bottom car in the chase. He wants to get these 5 points by leading lap 1.
Yeah, he got a big jump in that restart, guys. He jumped out front, a car-and-a-half lead over Kurt Busch right now, and it looks like coming off of turn 4, he's going to be the guy who leads the first lap and gets those very important 5 points.
You have to think these guys, all these guys, these top 3 are racing hard for those 5 bonus points. I see Kurt Busch here driving hard up in the corner.
And one thing you got to remember here, guys, this track is very, very loose early on in the race. A lot of slipping and sliding. It's going to take about 10 or 12 laps before the handling starts coming around.
Rusty, the air pressure low on these cars. How much do you have to tiptoe? Can you really push the car early on?
You can't push the car much, Jerry. You got to know its limits, and you got to be really easy with the throttle off the corner. And don't use too much brake going into turn 3. You heard Kevin Harvick, our in-race reporter, saying that's the toughest part of the racetrack right there.
Folks, across the top of the screen, you'll see our normal ticker, which shows you how they're running in the race. Now, at the bottom of that throughout today, you'll be able to follow the chase and the points as the drivers move up and down in the top 12 of this race to the Nextel Cup Championship. You'll be able to see where they move in that top 12.
You talk about tiptoeing. Look at the 16-car Greg Biffle really get out of shape right there. His car got real loose early on just because of those cold tires and low air pressure.
22, still out there.
And you got to be really careful right now. Early on, second place right now. Martin Truex getting ready to overhaul Kurt Busch in the 2-car. Alan?
You know, Rusty, so many teams have talked about momentum for this 10-race stretch to the championship. Kurt Busch's team has just come off of 9 races where they won twice and have finished in the top 10 almost every week. Incredible momentum that vaulted them from being out of contention for the title to being in the chase group. As crew chief Pat Price had told me this morning, we need 10 more weeks like the 9 we just had, and we can win this thing. Dave?
And right in front of him now, the 1-car of Martin Truex making that pass for second. What a better way for the 1 team to start than to have races at New Hampshire and Dover. 2 very good tracks for this team. Remember, earlier this year, he won at Dover. Here at New Hampshire in July, Martin Truex finished 3rd. It's a great way to begin for the 1 team.
Well, one fella you better take a look at right now is a 29-car, Kevin Harvick. He just went past Jimmy Johnson and pulled up in there. And his car, he told us earlier, you know, it's going to be loose. He's concerned about turn 3, but he did win this race last year, and he gets around this track real well. It looks like right now, it's marching to the front.
And we just heard from his crew chief, Todd Barrier. He said they were going to be aggressive, and I really thought they meant on pit road, but it looks like Kevin's being pretty aggressive on the racetrack as well. Kevin Harvick very frustrated about the fact that a lot of people thought he might not make it in the chase. A lot of people said, you know, you may slip down and Earnhardt Jr. may get by you, and that motivated his team. Guys, you doubted us. You really doubted. Now we're going to prove that we deserve to be here. Yeah, he sounded a little bit testy here the last couple of races. Now, I think he's wanting to throw down on these guys and show what he's made of.
Well, I talked to a lot of the drivers. A lot of them are a little bit snippy, a little bit arrogant, you know, because they're so focused. They want to do so well, and when you ask them a question, they're like, you know, somebody else already asked me that question. We're like, it wasn't us. Side-by-side battle here for the 9 and 96. Casey Kane, big announcement coming up on Tuesday. Sponsorship, 96. Tony Raines, who's done a great job in this car, will be replaced by J.J. Yaley in 2008. And Tony is not only driving for a win, he's driving possibly for a ride in 2008. Yeah, I'm sad to see Tony Raines out of that car because he's done a good job and got that thing in the top 35 in points, which is very, very important right now.
And Tony's just one of those good guys you like to see do well. Bobby Labonte, the 43 car, you saw him in the back of this mix. Tony Raines being shown in 24th position. Behind him is Casey Kane in 25th. There's the battle. Now is the 43 car. Bobby Labonte goes by Casey. A lot of these guys are trying to feel their cars out because they didn't get a final practice, a race practice yesterday because of rain. So they're going to feel their cars out. They're going to get I think NASCAR's going to put the caution out at lap 35. They are going to put the caution out at 35. So these guys can look at their cars and check the tires out.
Well, take a look at Kurt Busch now underneath Martin Truex. Kind of gave him a little bump in the left rear quarter panel just then. Say, this car, this is a car that can win this championship. He's won 2 races this year at Pocono and Michigan. I talked to the guys earlier. They said, Rusty, we got a fantastic car. You better be talking about us. Kurt Busch won both events here in 2004, but he's had abysmal luck at this racetrack. He has finished 19th or worse in his last 4 trips in New Hampshire. He just can't catch a break. Now, here's a guy that's been awfully good here, and he's on the move, Jeff Gordon. Jeff Gordon is always good here. In fact, this race last year, the first race this year, he almost beat Denny Hamilton to the line. It was a drag race right to the line, and Gordon was pretty dominant throughout the day, so this doesn't surprise me how he's running right now. This Hendrick-led group's been strong. He started about mid-pack there, I think around 18th spot, so he's trying to make up some spots early. Look at the back. Whoa! These cars, they're really driving these cars deep in the corner. We saw it in qualifying and in practice how much smoke was coming off these tires as they entered the corner. Here's the swap for second spot. Kurt Busch now getting by Martin Truex. But what's happening with these brakes is these cars have such a high center of gravity. These guys are still trying to learn exactly where the limit is on that brake pedal. And a lot of smoke coming off the front of the cars because of it. But look at Stewart underneath Truex right now. Truex looks like his handling's just a little loose off the corner, it looks like. And now you see Kevin Harvick sneaking in the picture. Tony Stewart takes the 3rd spot away. Truex is 4th. Harvick now in 5th. As you watch that move, and not far behind Harvick, you look out the back, you can see Jimmy Johnson creeping into the picture. More on Martin Truex with Dave.
That car right now, guys, just a little bit tight for Martin Truex. Crew Chief Bono Mannion reminding him that you have the brake bias, and you can adjust some of the brakes to the rear. That will loosen that car a little up in the center of the corner and on entry. And so if he does that, perhaps it will come to him just a little bit better. But right now, hard to turn through the corners.
So it's a little bit tricky, though, when you start adjusting on that balance bar, because Carl Edwards wrecked his car in practice because he locked those rear wheels up. So it's a little bit tricky. Gordon's got a good run off the bottom of the racetrack right now. His car's working really good down low. Got around 18 car J.J. Yeley, and now Jeff Burton running right behind him. But look how low that car is to the ground again, Andy. We've talked about it all year long. A lot of smoke off that 18 again. NASCAR next door have their spotters watching the back of J.J. Yaley's car, number 18. He pulls right up in front. And how worried is Jeff Burton going to be about what could happen in the 18 car? He's right behind him. But no worries whatsoever for Burton's teammate. As Clint Boyer being shown as the leader. After 13 laps, it is Boyer. Back with more from New Hampshire after these messages and a word from our ABC stations. Welcome back to New Hampshire. 28-year-old Clint Boyer is set on the pole here and has led all 20 laps thus far. He led only a total of 83 laps all season long, and he is has a car that's the one to beat here early on. Kurt Busch in 2nd spot, holding off Tony Stewart, as we have 7 chase drivers in the top 10. Martin Truex is 4th, Jimmy Johnson 5th.
There comes the 24 car of Jeff Gordon, and he is making moves high and low to get around people. That's his teammate Casey Mears in the 25 right in front of him.
Yeah, he's moved up to 15th position right now. He's been knocking them off left and right. So we know one thing. He didn't like starting in the back where he started. His car's working really well. I see him making passes on the bottom, but he's getting a lot of momentum off the top side of the track as he comes off and swaps lanes like he's doing right now.
Check out Matt Kenseth here on the bottom underneath Juan Pablo Montoya. He's right on the bottom of the racetrack. This is one of the hardest places to pass and gain this track position. You don't just drive by 2 at a time. You have to earn every spot here.
You know, Matt Kenseth, he doesn't make it easy on himself either. He qualifies not real well, not to his liking, but he drives that thing right to the front every single time and always seems to get the job done. Dave?
And Rusty, he's experiencing the same kind of things that most of the guys are with these cars. Little difficult to turn through the center of the corner, but at the same time, he's radioed back to Robbie Reiser. It's really good, and as he's passing cars, we can tell.
That's good news for these guys because they kind of struggled in practice. They were not very high on the practice sheet and they qualified bad. Looks like they're getting their stuff ready to go here when it's time to go.
You know, we've been seeing a lot of cars out there smoking. I just saw some smoke off the 17 of Kenseth, and it looks like, Andy, the splitter in the front causes smoke. That new splitter on these car tomorrows, and we see a lot of cars doing that.
These guys want to run these springs as soft as possible, and it makes that car travel down all the way. You see it down almost on the racetrack, and even when they, when they have low air pressures, that thing can actually hit the racetrack and cause this thing to smoke.
For folks who may not know what the splitter is the front of this car, the actual front of the car. You see that orange strip on the bottom of the 07 car. That's the splitter area on the lower part of the front air dam in the car of tomorrow. Let's go down and check in Boyer's pitch with Jamie.
Well, as Clint continues to check out, you wonder what's going through his mind right now. Well, he hasn't said a whole lot, but just a few moments ago he came across the radio and said this.
You guys all see who Steven Tyler picked to win the championship this year? Who'd he pick? Us. Could have been because we were the only person he knew, or he liked Jack Daniels, but nonetheless he picked us.
Well, the Cinderella man, as we're calling him, nice and relaxed behind the wheel, and last night he got to have dinner with Steven Tyler of Aerosmith, so pretty cool picking Clint Boyer to be the champion.
How about that? Clint Boyer's not in Kansas anymore. You know, you get to have dinner with those kind of rock stars, and suddenly you become a rock star. And he certainly is right now on this racetrack.
I'm impressed with him right now. I'll tell you, he kind of snuck in this chase, and now he's just really just putting it down on these guys. He's way out in front.
Here's a couple of guys that have some things to prove for 2008. The 41, Reed Sorensen, driving for Chip Ganassi. Felix Sabatas, the 19, Elliott Sadler, trying to finish this season on a high note.
These are two guys that's got really good cars. Felix Sabatas, Chip Ganassi racing their team, and Everham Motorsports with Gillette right now. Those guys are trying to get their act together, so when they end the 2008 season, they really got something to start that 09 season, I'm sorry, to start the 08 season with at Daytona, because they have not been as consistent as they want to be. They're moving crew guys around, they're changing a lot of things. They're really kind of in a research and development mode right now.
Dave, you can add?
Yeah, the 41 of Reed Sorensen, he had a good race here in July to start with, but then things went awry. He actually had a very good qualifying lap, started third, but he tagged the wall when he did that in July. When he was asked after he qualified this time, did you touch the wall this time? He goes, no, maybe I should have, because I qualified 12th. The car right now, very good for him, and he just picked up the 11th position. Alan?
And Elliott Sadler, who just passed for that spot, sliding back a little bit. Elliott had a good line here the other day. He said, we're in a chase of our own. We're chasing the handling issues that have plagued us all season long. They have struggled to get the back tires of that 19 car hooked up in the last several races. Elliott slipping back a little bit in the opening going here today. There's a little struggle to keep the back end hooked up, huh?
We can really see the rear end of the 19 car, Elliott Sadler, really getting loose like you mentioned, Alan, getting up off the corners. It's got to work on that. Now, NASCAR is going to throw this mandatory caution about 6 laps, at lap 35. And you got to believe that's what's on these drivers' minds right now. They know their cars aren't right. They're going to bring them in and work on them.
One of the struggles with this car is trying to get the front wheels to turn in the middle of the corner and then to hook up the back tires off the corner.
Clint Boyer now lapping some of the traffic. That is Kyle Petty in the 45 car. He will go by. And of course, one of the big stories this week was the fact that Petty Enterprises could end up merging with Gillette Everham Motorsports. No, folks, Petty will not go away. It will still be Petty Enterprises, but that's the way they can actually have a 4-car partnership team that'll help everyone. It will be in Dodges, And of course, that's the big story about possible merger there, a partnership with Gillette Evernham and Petty Enterprises, and that would mean that there probably would be a huge help for that team overall.
Anytime you can add another team and you get some more brains working on this problem, or on the, trying to get your car set up and going race to race, it's always a benefit.
One of the chasers here, Kyle Busch, dropping back a little bit. He started back, now being shown back in the 19th position. I guess if you're going to have trouble, best to have it now, because you know that mandatory yellow is coming in 3 laps.
And they get a chance to work on their cars and even maybe make a little strategy move. Alan?
Yeah, just trying to get that car figured out a little bit is Kyle Busch in the opening laps here, Andy. And for this race team, he's trying to get the front end to grip in the center of the corner and the back end to grip off the corner. That's a lot to deal with in one of these cars. Tomorrow's all at once, but Kyle Busch continuing to try and feed his team information so they can make adjustments on this stop.
I'll tell you what, guys, I know that's a lot to deal with, that's for sure, but he's got to get it done pretty quick here. He's probably talking about it because right now he's about 0.3 of a second off the leaders. And at this racetrack, guys, that's a lot.
Kyle Busch, the former winner here, won in the spring of 2006, became the youngest driver to ever win in NASCAR NXL Cup competition at the tender age of 21 years and 2 months. Clint Boyer, the leader. Kurt Busch in the 2 car. Just about 2 seconds back. There's Kurt coming down the straightaway there in that 2 car, which always ran well here. In fact, the very first driver to win here at this racetrack was in that 2 car. His name was Rusty something. Wallace.
It may be that Clint Boyer's in traffic, but Kurt Busch is definitely catching him a little bit here.
Tony Stewart in 3rd position. Tony, a 2-time winner at this racetrack, has won 3 times in 2007. Missed the chase a year ago. There's Martin Truex. Brand new car for Truex, who won at Dover early in the year, picking up his first ever win in Cup. Saved that car, by the way, for Dover next week. Thinks he got a really good car here. Thinks this car can get it done here at New Hampshire today.
Well, that's the one cool thing about these cars, guys. You can run them all
Caution's
the
out.
racetracks.
Caution's out.
This competition yellow NASCAR is putting out because of the rain yesterday that didn't allow any practice on the racetrack, and they didn't get a chance to look at the tires, to get rubber on the track, or to work on race setup.
It's really for these crews to try to adjust on their car a little bit because they didn't get that practice. I think the tire's okay. We saw the truck race yesterday and didn't seem to be any issues with tires, so these guys are just going to tune their cars up. Maybe some of these guys will have something for Clint Boyer on the restart.
Well, looks like the guy that's going to get the lucky dog is going to be Ward Burton. Right now he's the first guy a lap down, so that's one gainer for Ward. He's going to work on the car now and get that thing better so he doesn't have to use it again.
This will be an opportunity for some of these guys and say mid-pack to roll the dice on maybe getting 2 tires, or some of them maybe just get fuel and jump back out there and try to gain some track position.
All those teams poised up on the wall. Many of these guys are former college or professional athletes. They know you've got to be a good athlete to carry a tire, an air wrench, and dance around that car and get back in less than 14 seconds. And this is critical. Pit stop number 1 in the chase.
And these heart rates are up. These guys right here are getting ready to pit this car. They want to make sure it's solid here.
Teams are coming down to 45 miles an hour. Let's head down to Alan Bestwick.
Well, Kurt Busch pitched from 2nd place. An air pressure adjustment down on the left side tires to help the car rotate better in the center of the corner, looking for a clean stop from his crew.
Just 4 ounces of air less in the right rear tire for Martin Truex Jr. this time. Tight in the middle, just like last time. That air pressure adjustment should help it turn. Mike.
Ryan Newman radioing in not too long ago saying loose in, loose off, tight in the center. They'll make an air pressure adjustment and raise the track bar. Jamie?
And your leader, Clint Boyer, in. He said he's a little tied up on. They're going to put 4 stickers on it. That should free it up. He's down their way, guys, and he makes the leader.
2 tires for the 17 car. Matt Kenseth, that was being shown back in 28th position. Look at him all the way up into the top 10, 2 tires, and there's your first gamble. You talked about it, Andy. Some crew chiefs are going to gamble, and indeed Robbie Reiser has done just that. First pit stop for the day, a competition yellow on lap 35. Take a look at the crew camera here. This is the right rear tire carrier, Zach McGowan from Springboro, Ohio, getting it done for Robbie Gordon. Great effort on pit road. You're watching ESPN on ABC. broadcast is available on ABC HD, presented by DLP HD TV. Glad to have you back with us. Pace car pulls away. Perfect timing. We head down for the restart at New Hampshire after the first scheduled stop of the day, a competition yellow. Clint Boyer has led 38 of the 39 laps thus far, and he will lead him down. And looking inside is the 19 car of Elliott Sadler.
Hey, Elliott Sadler on that last pit stop, he took 2 right side tires only. That got him a lot of track position. And that's what you really need to do here, because left side tires aren't that important.
Well, we're getting ready to find out here with Elliott Sadler. He's got a couple good cars on the outside of him. If he can just maintain a top 10 spot out of this, it'll probably pay off for him. Gaggle of cars, a recipe for possible disaster. They were 2 and 3 wide. In fact, 4 wide a moment ago. Harvick trying to knife his way up, looking on the inside of Truex. Dale Earnhardt Jr. being shown in the 10th position. He gained 9 spots on that pit stop just a moment ago.
And that Junior, he's had a great car all year long. You know, he's had those engine problems. Look at this. It was 3 wide just before this shot, guys. Side by side going at the corner. And they're taking advantage of all these fresh tires.
Here comes Denny Hamlin coming up under Jeff Green.
11 car, Denny Hamlin won this race back in the spring. Had a really good race car, but also had great pit strategy, taking 2 tires at the very end. Now trying to work underneath the 26 car of Jamie McMurray.
Now, Elliott's holding on pretty decent on that outside lane right now. Just like you said, Andy, that's the absolute scenario he needs to play now. Try to keep this thing in the top 10 with just those right side tires, but he's getting kind of hung out to dry. Alan?
Rusty, I just talked to Ray Evernham, the team owner, who's up on the box helping with the strategy today. He told me he felt like they had about a 15th place car right now, but they want to try and keep track position for most of the day. That's the reason for the 2-tire call.
Now, I talked to Ray Evernham down in the garage today, and he was talking about that practice they missed really cost this team because they had some really neat things they wanted to try. They felt like they could learn something from that and get this car moving in the right direction. But having Ray Evernham up on the box has always got to be an advantage.
Guys, the 83 car of Brian Vickers, just a moment ago you saw, he is not being scored because, well, now he is on pit road because he ran the paddle and did not heed the black flag, and now he has come on the pit road. Whoa, smoke out of McMurray's car as Hamlin takes the spot away on the inside.
Well, I just started to say the 83 car, he's been really good in that car most of the year when the car does qualify for the race, but
I'm calling
really
myself
off
there.
today.
I'll be there after the race.
11 car, Hamlin takes the 18 spot away, right in front of McMurray.
2 purple cars are going at it.
A lot of smoke off that 26 again. We keep seeing those splitters again. Those things giving everybody a lot of problems for smoke.
Oh, I see why they're racing so hard here.
Yeah, a little bumping and bagging. When you get drove in as a driver, you get hit in the door, it makes you mad. Like, who did that? I'm going to show this guy. The temperatures are all up right now, right off the bat. And you know what? I don't see. That's just good side-by-side racing there. Denny's car slipped just a little bit, got in the side of McMurray. No harm, no foul.
Battle for 17th position. And now Denny Hamlin trying to make his move toward the front. Somewhat like what happened back in the spring here when he ended up leading 46 laps. He's gone by the 38 car of Gilliland, who was one of the lap cars. Back up front, Clint Boyer has led twice for 45 laps. And if you're wondering why he hasn't led 46 laps, Kenny Schrader, by the way, stayed out to lead a single lap during that yellow flag. And that was a very important lap that he led.
This team's running their own race, too. Oh, we got the 10 car getting sideways.
Scott Riggs slow on the racetrack. That is one of the Gillette Evernham cars, and obviously he's got some issues at the back of the car. A tire going down or something broken suspension wire.
Left side tires here, left side tires.
He's trying to set us out left rear flat. That left rear tire's flat on it right now, guys. He's just holding on.
He's had some contact with somebody else out here that knocked that tire, knocked the air out of it. Oh, Regan Smith, yeah, he gets into him real hard here.
I mean, he crawled up on top of that tire. I mean, we see him bump occasionally, but he was just, Regan Smith's tires were off the ground on that one.
Scott Riggs does a great job not to spin out there with that tire down.
The tough part, everybody's probably hoping a caution would come out right there, but Riggs is going to go down a couple laps probably because of this problem.
Scott Riggs with that great run in this car tomorrow at Martinsville, finishing 8th early in the year, having troubles here, being hit And that will cost him a couple laps on the racetrack. Out the
Okay,
back
lead
of
us
the
down
0-1
outside.
of Regan Smith. There's the contact from behind by
Come
David
on.
Reagan.
You're all clear,
And then
all
the
clear.
bounces off the 10 car of Scott Grigg. Back in a moment. Mike Jaws and Tony had great ball games. Joe Gibbs, a three-time NASCAR Cup Series championship owner, also a three-time Super Bowl winner, and the head coach of the Washington Redskins, has two drivers in this chase, including the guy you're riding with right now, Tony Stewart. And Joe Gibbs trying to go 2-0 for the Redskins. Big win in overtime last week against the Miami Dolphins. Also trying to get Tony Stewart his third Cup title, maybe the first one ever for Denny Hamlin. Here where the Gibbs cars are running right now. Tony Stewart third, Denny Hamlin, who won this race back in the spring. Now both those top two cars are in the chase. And of course, J.J. Yeley being shown back in 22nd position. We saw the smoke from Yeley's car about 15 laps or so ago.
Kind of been tracking the progress of the 19 car Elliott Sadler. He lined up second on that restart on those two tires. I'm trying to see how good these two tires are going to be. He's lost quite a few spots now, but Matt Kenseth also took two tires, and he's only lost one spot since the restart. Started in ninth, restarted in ninth, and he's now 10th.
Dale, I'll tell you, what do you think about the two tires right now? To me, it looks like Elliott's sliding back, but Kenseth's going forward.
Yeah, Rusty, I think the one thing that I've always told my crew chief is that if our race car is handling pretty well, then two tires is a pretty good idea. And I think that's what you see with Matt Kenseth's car, who was coming up through the pack before that pit stop. But Elliott was kind of sliding backwards from his starting position. It was a real chance they took, but I think they just wanted to see, and they probably won't try this again until they get their car handling better.
Well, one thing I've been noticing about Elliott's car, the left front corner of that car, as he exits the corner, is awful high in the air. We've talked earlier in our broadcast, a lot of guys are running big sway bars, but look how high this car is getting off the ground and I got to believe that's really killing the handle on this car.
Yeah, I know that Elliott and them spent a lot of time yesterday talking about what they were going to do with their race car, and they have been fighting some handling issues with their cars at different type tracks. And as we watch his car versus even the 11 car right behind him, you can see that that left front corner stays down. And as a driver, you know, and I know I always thought that if I could feel that left front down, it really gave me a much better feel of the car and that I was more in control.
Sadler being shown back in the 15th position. That's Denny Hamlin, the 11 car, one of the Joe Gibbs cars, coming up behind him in 16th spot. Now back up front, it has been the Clint Boyer show. Boyer picking up his second career pole, won early in the year at Darlington, led the first 50 laps there, and the car began to fade a mite. He has led 58 laps here thus far early on and still has a car that looks awfully glued in on this racetrack.
Yeah, he's got a real fast car right now. Kurt Busch, although, was catching him about 2/10 a lap, and now Kurt started to slow down just a little bit. But these guys' lap times have been a little bit inconsistent, and I might have to blame that on the car tomorrow.
That car tomorrow has been a real challenge for these guys.
The older car, more downforce, they could be more consistent. And this car tomorrow is not near as much downforce. They slide around a lot.
Kurt Busch, we mentioned the fact that he has won here both times in 2004. When he went on to win the championship. The 18 car, we talked about the smoke we've been seeing intermittently coming out of this Chevrolet that Joe Gibbs owns, and it sort of comes and goes, Andy.
We've been trying to see where it's coming from. Look here, maybe we can find out where it is. You see, this smoke is actually coming from the exhaust pipe. You know, that could be just a minor thing. It could be just a little bit of oil seeping down into the cylinders on deceleration when there's a lot of vacuum inside the engine pulling that oil in there. It could be nothing, but it might be something these guys can, you know, maybe have a little concern about later.
Yeah, you'll see this smoke on different cars throughout the race, and that one there, just like you said, Andy, appears to be engine-related smoke, but the car appears to be running good.
The best driver historically at this racetrack has been the guy in the 31 car, Jeff Burton. He is the only four-time winner at this racetrack, and he has the record for leading the most laps, but he led every single lap in 2000, all 300 from start to finish. And but Jeff Burton, Mike, is really starting to slip and slide here back in the pack.
That's right, Doc. That's because they're experiencing some of the same problems they had in practice on Friday. I spoke with Scott Miller this morning, and he told me they were lacking front grip. That's exactly what Jeff Burton's complaining about right now. Just doesn't have that grip off the corner right now, and they really need it. You know, Scott Miller told me it's important that they win a race during this chase, although it's been won before without winning a race. He says with the depth of this field, they need to win a race. Jeff Burton says in order to do that, though, this team really needs to step it up. He doesn't feel like they've been fast enough the last several weeks.
A lot of frustration thus far here early on with that AT&T Chevrolet. Let's take a look at our AT&T Crew Chief Challenge. You know, which chase driver without a past win at New Hampshire has the best chance of winning here today? Could it be Clint Boyer, who's our leader, Carl Edwards, Matt Kenseth, or Martin Truex Jr.? Just text the word crew to 191 on your wireless phone and send in your answer. The results will be shown later on in the race. Leading Rookie of the Year contender, Juan Pablo Montoya, in the 42 car, making a move, and lots of words about some former Indy 500 winners. Sam Hornish came here this weekend trying to make his Cup debut for Roger Penske. Didn't quite work it out, although he was very good in practice, didn't make it in qualifying. Dario Franchitti, word is that the newly crowned Indy Racing League champion, will come here and run in NASCAR Nextel Cup for Chip Ganassi in 2008. And also earlier in the week, Jacques Villeneuve, the former Indy 500 winner and Formula One world champion, testing a Toyota at Talladega. We're told that he will be a full-time contender here and competitor here in 2008. We could have 4 former Indy 500 winners lining up to run next year's Daytona 500. And wow, this goes to show you this series keeps getting better and better.
Take a look at Dale Jr. He has not slowed down a bit. He has been flying through this field right now. Caution flag on the racetrack right now, guys.
4-car of Ward Burton has spun around and come into contact. That will bring out the second caution flag today. Ward, a former winner at this racetrack back in 2002.
like he's got a left front tire down. I don't know if that's caused after he hit the wall. Or maybe caused him to hit the wall.
Yeah, 88 car. Kenny Wallace gets a free pass. That's my little brother driving that car. Pretty proud of him getting that opportunity to drive that car for Robert Yates this time.
Let's show you what happened to Ward Burton's car number 4. This happened right in front of the leaders. Watch the left side of your screen.
It's like he just lost it getting in the corner.
A lot of guys have problems getting into turn 3. Talked about our in-race reporter, Kevin Harvick, saying that turn 3 was a tough corner for him, locking up the rear wheels. That could happen here.
Pit road will be open. Again, we've had one pit stop this afternoon, that coming on a competition yellow at lap 35. And now the Chevy of Ward Burton limping back to pit road. Pace car has picked up Clint Boyer, Kurt Busch, and Tony Stewart, the top 3, as they should be coming down for their second stop of the day. Top 6 drivers in the field right now are all 6 drivers in the chase. The first non-chase competitor is Ryan Newman back in 7th position. They come down at 45 miles an hour. Let's go down to Alan Bestwick.
And again, Kurt Busch pits from 2nd place. Discussion on the radio, they're expecting to see a lot of teams take 2 tires here, but being halfway through a fuel run, this team will take 4 and a slight chassis adjustment to help the front grip, Dave.
Kevin Harvick's crew is giving him a chassis adjustment as well. A little loose at the start, but tightening up as the run went along. It'll be a 4-tire stop for Harvick. Mike.
Last time in, Ryan Newman, they made an adjustment on the track bar, went up 2 rounds. They go up yet another round to free him up in the center. Jamie?
And Clint Boyer, the man who's dominated this race, every lap comes in 4 tires fuel, no changes to his race car. He's down and away and loses a couple spots. Guys?
Scrambling off pit road, Tony Stewart gains a couple spots. Greg Zipadelli and company doing great pit work. Jeff Gordon up 6 positions. It's the highest we've seen him today. Ryan Newman, you heard about that track bar adjustment a moment ago. Clint Boyer, who was the leader, losing 3 spots. Jamie McMurray, great work on pit road, and McMurray for that Larry Carter crew. Back with a restart in a moment. Welcome you back to the Sylvania 300, race number 1 in the 2007 chase for the NASCAR Nextel Cup. Under caution for the 2nd time today, coming out on lap number 67, Ward Burton's car. Spinning around, drivers have been on and off pit road. Tony Stewart only took 2 right side tires. Jeff Gordon took 2 as well, and so did Ryan Newman. Those 3 cars, 1, 2, and 3 at the top of the field as the pace car peels away, and we head down to the green flag.
5 points for Stewart, leading the lap.
And
See now what these two tires are going to do. We got two tires on these the leaders up front, the first two cars. Got Clint Boyer back there, the first car on 4 tires. It's going to be a good indication of how this is going to work.
You just can't tell you how important getting 5-point bonus points are. You see Tony Stewart jump out front there, but as you said, Andy, the 07 car right now, he's got 4 tires on. The 3 cars in front of him got 2 tires on. I can't wait to see what's going to happen here.
Let's listen in to Clint Boyer's radio.
Go ahead and get in your mind right now. We don't have to drive this car no harder to get back to the front in a hurry. You're so much faster than everybody right now. You just keep the fenders on it. When you get back up through there, you're going to drive right on by them.
You can see there why a spotter is so important. He's just as much a coach for Clint Boyer as a crew chief is up on top of the roof.
Yeah, but this is the very first time that the 07 car has really been stuck in traffic. He's had clear track almost all the time. So let's take a look at how this dirty air affects these cars in these shorter tracks.
For more information on team communications, log on to ESPN.com, search word communication. Boyer trying to make a move now inside of Newman for position.
And that's 4 tires in the 07 car of Clint Boyer versus Ryan Newman. Jamie?
Well, Rusty, you guys are talking about spotters, and Mike Dillon is the spotter for Clint Boyer, and usually Clint needs coaching. He wants to hear somebody talk to him every lap, every race. When he was leading this race, you didn't hear much chatter at all. Clint didn't say one word, but now that he's moved back a few spots, you're hearing Mike Dillon over the radio, and that's what we heard just a few moments ago.
You know, in my ear when I was driving the car, I like to hear a cheerleader. I like to hear my lap times, guys pumping me up, but I don't like to hear people tell me how to drive the car. Tell me where the leader's running. Is he running high or low? Don't be telling me let out the gas early, picked up the gas, stuff like that. That irritated me.
It seems like different drivers have different ways they want to hear from their spotters. Some guys actually want to hear that. They want to hear, hey, you're getting in the corner a little bit too deep, back off a little bit earlier. But, you know, when I was with Earnhardt, he didn't want to hear any of that stuff. He just wanted to hear where these cars were, how far behind he was, just like you, Rusty.
Now, I don't really know for sure, because you do, but I heard Earnhardt, he never did say anything. Is that right? He was pretty quiet.
Like you talking.
99 of Carl Edwards, we documented the fact that he's had a pretty rough weekend. Lost his primary car due to a problem with the wheel hop and had to go to a backup car. In the first laps he got on the track with a backup car, he went out to qualify. And what a job he did putting this car 11th on the starting grid.
And now he's driven the car up into the top 5. This team's done a great job of recovery.
Seems like every time he would get in the Busch Series and have to show up late for qualifying with no practice in that car, he jumped right in there and qualified very well. And he's pretty good with not having practice. He just gets up in that wheel, attacks it, and gets it done.
Are you saying practice is overrated?
No, I'm not saying that. I always love practice. Practice for me, I used every single lap.
Looking back at Jamie McMurray, who's having a great run here. McMurray now being shown in the 6th position. Let's ride along with our Wrangler onboard telemetry.
These guys running over 100 miles an hour just off the corner. Going down the straightaways, getting to 150 plus. Alan?
Just talking about Carl Edwards. When all the cars are running about the same speed, how do you pass them? Do something that they didn't. So Carl Edwards' team was one of those who took just right side tires. They gained a few spots on pit road. They were running around 11th place just before the stop. You see they moved up now, trying to hold that track position. Carl reporting the front end grip on his car lacking a little bit from what it was before that 2-tire change.
You know, take a look at the telemetry here, guys. 9,400 RPMs going at the corner. And they're not in the throttle much in the center. Take a look at this, down to about 5,300 RPMs. And folks, that's very low RPM. And they accelerate way up. Because the straightaways here are very, very long, they can do that.
DJ, I wanted to ask you about the rear wing on these race cars. We see it and we talk about it, but specifically on these short tracks, what exactly does that rear wing, what role does it play?
Well, basically, if you took the thing off, you'd find these guys driving down into the corner and probably spinning out. You think that looking at it, that it might not be that big of a deal, but it is creating downforce for you. As a driver, me looking in that mirror and seeing that wing versus the spoiler that we normally had, I don't feel as good about that wing personally, that's going to hold my car down and give me the downforce that I want to drive this car as hard. And that's what makes driving these cars so difficult. And you heard him talking about all running the same speed. I think that's the one thing that's difficult about these cars is that you just don't feel that you have that downforce to really rely on.
Dale, one thing I want to ask you, the rear wing sticking up in the rear window, can you see out of the back of that car clear versus a rear spoiler?
Great question, Rusty, and I'll tell you, you can't see out the back as good, and it's hard to pick up who that is you're racing that's come up behind you, because obviously you race different people differently. And the other thing is, it's hard to see through these cars too. I'll attribute that to part of the reason that I got in an accident last week at Richmond with the car that we're looking at, Jamie McMurray right there. You can't see through these cars to see what's going on up ahead of you. You rely totally on your spotter. If something happens up there, a lot of times it's too late. So I think that has created some problems. It's made driving these cars much more difficult.
These cars are so big, you know, the greenhouse is so big, they have to get that wing stood up in the air just to make it work. They've got to get it up into the airstream. Here you can see that airstream coming over the 12 car, and if you don't have that wing high enough, you can see that it won't really catch enough air to make downforce. So it has to be up there pretty good.
You know, people say on a short track, downforce doesn't mean that much. Well, I'm here to tell you, on a short track, downforce is everything. You can pull up behind the car, get them very, very loose, or you can pull up behind them and lose your front end. So downforce, whether it's a fast track like Daytona or Talladega, or right here at New Hampshire, is everything.
I know a lot of people think aerodynamics are overrated in stock car racing, but I promise you it's not. It's one of the big elements.
We talk about downforce. The 07 looks like John Force. So he comes off that corner talking about Clint Boyer, and he has so much horsepower. He just drove by the 24 of Jeff Gordon, and now Boyer is setting his sights on Tony Stewart. Can he catch him? We'll find out when we come back to New Hampshire in a moment. Welcome back to Loudon, New Hampshire. Great crowd on hand here watching round one of the NASCAR 2007 Chase to the Nextel Cup. A year ago in this first race, all 10 chase positions changed. And guess what, folks, here, after 90 laps, they've all 12 changed. Take a look at where everybody has moved to, with the exception maybe of Kurt Busch. Tony Stewart right now, as they're running, would be our leader in the Chase for the Nextel Cup.
And Jerry, you said all 12 changed. They have changed, but the two of them are kind of back in position, a 24 car and the 2 car, a Kurt Busch, but they've been out of that position a lot. So this thing is anybody's ball game right now. It's all over the place.
Looks like this 22 22 car may have a flat tire. He does. He's got a flat left rear tire.
This is critical because this is one of the teams that's battling to get in that top 35 in the owner's points, and my goodness.
Jack it up. You got to pick it up, guys. Got to pick it up. Pick it up.
These guys are trying to stay in the top 35 in points. This is going to hurt them a little bit.
That is important because the top 35 in owners get automatically qualified for the first 5 events of 2008. And of course, the first event is the big one, the Daytona 500. Here's what happened a moment ago to Dave Blaney.
Well, these are the 2 cars that are racing for that top 35 spot. Ken Schrader in the 21 car is inside the top 35, and the 22 car is just outside the top 35.
I'm trying to take a look at the 22 car of Dave Blaney and find out how he lost his left rear flat right now. I haven't seen that yet, but there's one thing I do know. He was only 19 points out of the 35th position, and this is really going to drop him right now. Probably clear down to close to 37th right now.
Hey guys, you know, something that we may look at, I saw them, they're racing really close. You see the splitter on the front of these cars that's down there, and it's kind of out at the front. And I'm not sure that that's not causing some of these flat tires. These guys race really close. We never had to really worry about that before. You could get the fender up against there maybe, and it really wouldn't do a whole lot, but sometimes it would knock things out of whack a little bit. But I think these splitters maybe are cutting these tires down. I'm not sure that's what happened there, but we saw it earlier with the 10 car.
And that splitter is really a bulletproof piece of material that these guys have on the front of the car, and it can cause a lot of damage if you get inside that wheel area and maybe knock that valve stem out of there. Let's go down to our Dish Tech Center and talk to Tim Brewer about this.
Andy, you're exactly right. Folks, this thing is made by the Milliken Company, and it's made out of a thermoplastic. What it is, you see the bullet holes right here? It's a very durable piece, but the bullet holes, they didn't penetrate the other side. What's more important, these people actually build bulletproof equipment for our troops fighting the war, but they build very good components for race cars also. Andy?
That thing really is bulletproof, Tim.
Every time I go down to the Dish Tech Center, I learn something. I had no idea that thing was so strong, a bullet wouldn't pass through it, so that's just amazing.
For more information on splitters, log on to ESPN.com. Search word Tech Center, so you get a great look from our Chevy cutaway car and how that. I'm just glad we didn't have bulletproof bumpers back when you were driving.
I tell you, if I just needed a bulletproof front nose, and I'd have wore that thing out more than the rest of those competitors.
Now we put that on Earnhardt's car, that bulletproof nose.
Well, the guys in their 22 right now, Dave Blaney's crew chief and his team are telling them, hold on, man, we need those points. But back up front, Tony Stewart is set sail right now. He's got a fast car. In fact, that last time by, 0.2 of a second faster than the second place car.
Pretty good battle developing here between the 11 of Denny Hamlin and the 17 of Matt Kenseth. This is for 12th position. Remember, Kenseth started back in 30th and even struggled early on, but after a 2-tire change and little adjustments on pit road, now he's becoming a factor in the top 15.
There's 4 Chase guys right here running together. You see these 3 right here. Up just ahead of these guys is Martin Truex Jr. Keep seeing the smoke coming off this 11 car. A lot of cars have had the smoke coming off of them. I don't know if it's a splitter hitting the ground or the tires are rubbing, but you see a lot of smoke from just about every car out there at some point in time.
So it's just started to say how Denny Hamlin's car has been so loose, but the front end of the 5 car has been so tucked up underneath them, coming off the corner, he's really got that car loose.
Alan?
Well, it's already been a better day for Kyle Busch starting this championship chase than it was a year ago. Last year, on the second lap of the race, he had contact with another car and the wall, and his day unraveled from there. You could say his championship hopes unraveled from there. He's off to a better start, moving up, just looking for some rear grip in the car going into the corners. Jamie?
And Denny Hamlin just moves into the 11th spot. He started 14th. You know, he has some more experience under his belt after last year's chase. He was the rookie. But his car today has been all right. But on that last pit stop, his own teammate Tony Stewart pulled in right in front of him as Denny wanted to exit, and he got stuck there. He had to sit and wait for Tony Stewart to make his pit stop before Denny could pull out. They lost a couple spots there, but he's working his way back up, guys.
Right behind Denny Hamlin, you see the 16 car. And that is Greg Biffle. And Greg Biffle, his best finish has been a 5th this year. And as good a race car driver as Biffle is, you got to wonder how important are these final 10 races to be able to build some momentum for this team for 08.
This guy drives super hard, and you can see the little bit of damage on the right side of his car where he should maybe scrape the wall. That's just how hard he drives. He drives his car and gets every inch coming off these corners. He doesn't leave anything out there.
When you take a look at another fellow, now Greg Biffle, he didn't make the chase for the championship, and this guy just wants a win. This is another team we're talking about that's been off a little bit, that's got to get their momentum back going again, and he doesn't care about those guys now. He just wants to win this thing himself for his team.
Biffle's best finished 5th at Bristol back in the spring, and he likes this racetrack. He likes the tracks that have the long straightaways and the tight turns, trying to use the horsepower and that Roush Fenway engine to move on the inside of the 11 car, and that, of course, is for the 15th position.
This car has posed so many challenges for these teams. And keeping that splitter, that lower part of that front end off the racetrack has really been one of the things they fight. And see this smoke popping out of all these cars. It used to be, you know, with the old car, you see some smoke coming out of the 11 car right there. With the old cars, you see a little puff of smoke. It's usually that tire rubbing the fender, and that's no big deal. It doesn't hurt the car at all. But when this splitter hits the ground, it really hurts the car's performance.
And the splitter being sealed to the ground like the front of the 25 car is does a lot also. And the reason these guys have got these front ends so low is one thing they're using a lot is the front's anti-roll bar. That anti-roll bar is really keeping the cars flatter, and the size of that thing is completely different from the old car. And it's really made a big effect in the way these guys handle.
The car that had all the momentum coming in here was this one here. Jimmie Johnson, back-to-back wins. 6-time winner in 2007. Atop the point standings coming in, but right now Jimmie Johnson being shown not in the lead. He's back in 6th position, but he's coming. Right now he may have the quickest car on the racetrack. And who is he chasing? This guy here, Joe Gibbs racing driver, Tony Stewart, the 2-time NASCAR Nextel Cup champion. Stewart has led the last 35 laps. Kenny, hang on, because Jimmie Johnson is coming. Big sports weekend, Tiger on the move. And how about the Tide, the Crimson Tide last night? And Tony here, Tony the Tiger was the leader, but not anymore because the 07 of Clint Boyer made the pass just a moment ago. Here's what happened as Tony was trying to hang on, and watch the 07 car, so stout coming off the corner.
And one thing you got to remember now, the 07 car, Clint Boyer's got 4 sticker tires that last pit stop versus 2 tires of Tony Stewart.
Yeah, and you see Tony he just kind of gives that spot to Clint right here. I don't think you'll see him do that late in the race if they have this same strategy going on.
You know, one thing that's on my mind right now, the 2 tires for Stewart really held up good, and you got to believe the crew chiefs down there in pit box are watching these guys right now and thinking about, do I need to do this late in the race to get that track position?
Clint Boyer's had the best car on equal tires to all these guys, so it's no surprise that he did drive the car to the lead when he had 4 fresh tires and some of these guys only had 2.
How about Reed Sorensen in the 41 car? Here's a young man that's got something to prove, I believe. Reed has gotten really racy in the second and the last half of this year, both in the Busch car and the Cup car.
This is a team that has something to prove. Jimmy Elliott's crew chief on this car. He's a very good crew chief. He worked for me. This is Reed Sorensen, got a lot of talent. This team's got a lot of potential that they really need to realize, and they're starting to do that. They look pretty strong right here in this race, and maybe they've got 10 more here. Maybe they'll get them a good top 5 finish or maybe a win before the end of the season.
Matt Kenseth, one of the 2 drivers, has been in all 4 chases for the Nextel Cup. Talking about the driver of the 17 car, but has not won a single chase race. In front of him, the 26 car.
And Jamie McMurray, he struggled a little bit of late. You know, he won that big race in Daytona. Larry Carter came over on the team and really helped this team a ton. Everybody knows how talented Larry Carter is. Yeah, but since then, they've had a little bit of struggle, a little problem. But it looks like he's back on track right now. The car's running good. He's in the 10th position.
The 8 car and the 99 car, Earnhardt Jr., not in the chase in 2007, but he said, I want to be a spoiler. I want to go out there. Now there's no pressure on us. I want to win a bunch of these races here in the final 10. Mike?
And you're absolutely right, Doc. There's been a lot of frustration, obviously, in the 8 camp, but not necessarily because they didn't make the chase. I spoke with Tony Eury Jr. this morning, and he said he was upset Sunday morning, but not necessarily because they didn't qualify for the chase, but because they had their 5th motor failure. His frustration comes from the fact that none of the failures they've had this year have been duplicate problems. That's part of the problem. The other one is the perception. The perception is that the 8 team is the only car at DEI having these motor problems, and he says that's just not true. If you look at Martin Truex, sure, he's had 2 motor failures in a race, but he also had 2 motor problems that they found on race morning. So in total, Martin Truex has actually had 4 motor failures as well. So it's been a problem for DEI across the board. Right now, Dale Jr. not completely satisfied with his car, still a little bit tight in the corner.
Well, I believe that this engine problem these guys have been having of late in the 8 car, Dale Earnhardt Jr. is going to go away next year. It really will, because Richard Childress Racing and Dale Earnhardt Incorporated have merged their engine departments. They're going to be working together, and I don't think these failures are going to be much around any longer.
Well, these guys are still working on this thing, and the problem is just like he was talking about there, the timing of these issues. When they have this problem with the 8 car, it seems like he's always running for the win or in the top 5. And this is just what just highlights it even more. If you can have that problem, like you say, before the race starts, you can change the engine, then it's not that big a deal. But when you have it in a race, especially late like he did last week, it just kills the team.
Speaking of things going away, there's a press conference on Wednesday in Dallas, and when they anticipate they will announce that Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s new number will be 88 in 2008. They will announce their sponsors, soft drink and energy drink. Here's the 99. Speaking of energy, what about the efforts for Carl Edwards? Has never won at this racetrack, but coming in a backup car, qualified this car 11th overall. Edwards making the chase for just the 2nd time in his career. Earlier in our AT&T Crew Chief Challenge, we asked you which of the drivers who have not won a race at New Hampshire International Speedway do you think has the best chance of winning here today? Was it Boyer, Edwards, Kenseth, or Truex Jr.? Now, when we asked you the question, Clint Boyer had dominated by leading the first 79 of 84 laps. How'd the voting go?
Wow, how about that? Carl Edwards, 45% of the vote, but pretty good with Boyer, too, and that's not a bad selection because Boyer's leading the race right now.
Carl Edwards gets the vote. His 7th trip here to this racetrack. He's best finished 2nd overall. We asked Carl Edwards about his involvement and his thoughts on this competitive 10-race chase to the championship.
The key in the chase is to not have those things happen. You can't have a a wreck in the race. You can't have an engine blow because I believe this chase, the depth of the field is such that it's going to be defined. The champion is going to be defined by, you know, the guy who has the least bad luck.
It's all about being consistent, guys. I guess I know you don't have to win the races, but you got to be able to be there and maybe get a top 5 or 6 finish.
Well, right now he's being really consistent. After using that backup car, the 99 car Carl Edwards you're talking about, he crashed it in practice, wheel hopped it, but he's got it handling good now. He just went around the outside of Kurt Busch in the 2 car.
Yeah, I got it under control. Got to do something.
The 2 we're hearing may have a problem. What is it, Alan?
Heard over the team radio and just confirmed with crew chief Pat Tryson, they think they have lost a cylinder on the engine of this car. That means they're running on 7. Their corner speeds won't be any worse than anybody else's, but down these long New Hampshire straightaways, oh boy.
And when you lose a cylinder too, the worst thing that can happen is it destroyed the rest of the engine and quit running completely, and I'm sure that's what he's worried about now.
This is the same thing that happened to his teammate Ryan Newman just a couple of races ago at California. Boy, that has got to be worrying the guys in this pit, Pat Tryson and company, for exactly what happens when you lose a cylinder. Let's go down to our ESPN Dish Tech Center and Tim Brewer.
Thanks, Jerry. Hey, these 358 cubic inch engines, 8-cylinder. Believe it or not, 45 cubic inches. You remove one of these plug wires, you just took 105 horsepower out of the engine. What we've got over here at the touch screen, what we think happened to the motor, come over here, valve related. Like I said, you take one of them out of the equation, you're looking at, like I said, 105 horsepower, but the valve right here, when it gets bent, breaks off eventually, shuts that cylinder down. If that valve goes back up in the manifold, he might run for a little while, but remember, 9,200 RPMs, not going to run very long. Jerry?
Tim, the only thing that could happen right here good for this 2 team is for that valve head to maybe stick up inside the head and not go anywhere. But what happens 9 times out of 10 or even more often than that is that thing will go down in there and start banging around, and it destroys the cylinder, and then it starts going from one cylinder to the next, and then it destroys the complete engine.
Well, one thing right now that Pat Tryson and the team are really hoping for is something simple as a plug wire might have fell off this car. If a plug wire, a spark plug wire came disconnected from the spark plug, that's going to lose 105 horsepower like Tim Brewer just said also. So they got their fingers crossed, but if you see smoke coming out of this thing, that's a different story.
For more information on cylinders, you can log on to ESPN.com. Search word Autotech. Well, a Chevy in the top 3 spots here after 125 of 300 laps. It is Gordon and Stewart who are chasing Clint Boyer, looking for his first ever NASCAR Nextel Cup win.
Playoff fever continues tonight as the Yankees and Red Sox meet at Fenway Park. Friday night, a 6-run 8th inning gave New York Game 1. Saturday, Josh Beckett was dominant and Boston took Game 2. Now tonight, the Rocket, Roger Clemens, meets up with Kurt Schilling in the series finale. First pitch, 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific on ESPN. Now, let's go back to Loudon, New Hampshire, and here's Jerry Punch.
Thank you, John. John, Joe, and Peter Gammon's up just down the road about an hour away at Fenway for what is a big weekend of sports here in New England. Brent?
Yeah, Doc, it really is a huge weekend when you think about the Yankees and the Red Sox. Greatest rivalry in all of baseball as the hunt for October continues. And tonight on ESPN, the rubber match, Game 3. 2 games that folks are already talking about. The Yankees winning 1, then the Red Sox yesterday. And they're close by Foxborough. What a matchup. The Chargers and the Patriots. Last year, the Patriots knocked them out of the playoffs. And then you come northwest here to Loudon. And there's one point we want to make about the seating capacity of these 3 wonderful venues. You're looking at the largest of the 3. And Kevin Harvick with some problems right now. You can see that right front as we go back to the booth now and Dr. Jerry Punch.
Big time concern for one of our chase contenders, Kevin Harvick. You saw the tire down on the right side. He was just talking about how well the car was running just a few laps ago. Dave.
And Doc, we were about 8 laps from their scheduled pit stop under green here, so this is not incredibly poor for him right now, although running around the track slowly cost him a lot of time. That right front tire definitely down. The car, as far as its handling, had gone just a little bit loose on him. They wanted some wedge back into the car to help that situation. They did not need that extra time with that right front tire going down.
They can recover from this if it'll cycle through green flag pit stops. But this is a little bit of a disadvantage for these guys because they had to slow down so much to get to the pits.
Well, right now he's got to hope that no caution is going to come out right in the next 8 to 10 laps. That's the pit window when everybody else is going to be coming down pit road. Not a real bad thing for Harvick right now. In fact, he could come out leading the race because those new tires have got him going around the track so fast right now compared to the rest of the competitors. It might work out on a positive side.
One thing that worries me is what caused the right front to go down. That's what I would be as worried about as anything. If it's maybe excessive brake heat, they may need to be talking to Kevin about maybe easing up on the brake.
There are 26 cars on the lead lap. Now the 29 car has come back out of the pits in 36th position. He is the last car being shown 1 lap down. And as you said, he needs this this green flag pit cycle to continue. He does not want to see a caution flag here in the next 15 to 18 laps. Clint Boyer being shown as a leader, sliding beneath the 00 car to put David Rudeman a lap down. Aerial coverage from high above New Hampshire International Speedway, brought to you by our good friends at Best Buy. Pit stops taking place. The 15 car on pit road, Paul Menard. Dale Earnhardt Jr., his teammate, headed down pit road at 45 miles an hour toward you, Mike Massaro.
And Paul Menard, you just saw he was in. He was looking for a little side-by 4-tire change there. Here's his teammate, Dale Earnhardt Jr. Team going to work on the right side of that car. The main complaint for Jr., a little bit tight, and he could not run the bottom groove. They're making a track bar adjustment and a 4-tire change. 19 car has some trouble as he spins entering pit road.
Fortunately, Elliott Sadler was able to get it righted and pulled right into his pit there at the upper end, and now working on the right side. Sadler had been running as high as 4th early in the afternoon. Great pit strategy. They'll put 4 tires on his car. 16 pits. Jamie Little.
And Greg Biffle, you guys talked about him. Time started 9th, having a solid run here today. Remember, 2 years ago, he almost won this championship. He failed to make the chase, guys, but he's looking to get that first victory this year. Let's go to Dave.
Jimmy Johnson hits pit road. He said the center of the corner is off and awesome, but I just can't get back to the power as quick as I want to. They'll make a 4-tire change. There will be air pressure adjustment for him. Allen.
At Carl Edwards pits, running in the top 10. Remember, this backup car, only 2 laps of practice before the race started. Actually, 2 laps, his time trial laps. 4-tire change, Dave.
Just a little loose off for Matt Kenseth, Allen. That's a 4-tire stop being completed right now. Air pressure adjustment on the 17 car.
Problem with David Stremmy's car, they are pushing this car. Andy, you've been there.
Yeah, they're out of fuel and they're trying to spray some ether down in in the intake, so it'll start back up. But these cars are hard to get started when they run out of fuel.
Dave.
And Martin Truex Jr. is coming in now. A long list of problems he discussed with crew chief Bono Mannion during that run. The main thing being that he needs grip in the middle of the corner. They'll make adjustments for that. It'll also be a 4-tire stop for this chaser. The one car finishing up the left sides now. Jack drops and he's gone. Jamie.
And Tony Stewart making his way down pit road. Remember, he took 2 tires on that first stop and took over the lead. We're told they are going to take 4 tires on this stop for Tony Stewart. And they're rolling out. Yep, he will indeed take 4 tires. And behind him, you see Jeff Gordon, the 4-time series champion, guys. He's been dealing with this forward bite issue. He said he needs more forward bite. He needs more drive off. You see it's a quicker stop for Jeff Gordon. He pulls away. And Tony Stewart's down and away as well. Making his way down, your leader, the man who's dominated all day, Clint Boyer in the 07. No changes expected, guys. This has been one of his best race cars all year. He's already led more laps today than he has all year combined. It's going to be right sides. They're going to move on over, put left sides on there for Clint Boyer. And it's a clean stop for Clint Boyer. And here comes Denny Hamlin in the purple machine. Guys, he's been working its way forward. He got hung up on his last pit stop. You can see it's clear sailing in front of him. Tony Stewart already made his stop. It's going to be right sides and left sides for Denny Hamlin. Guys, no changes expected for him. Let's go back to Mike Lazar.
Last time in, Ryan Newman opted for 2 tires to get some track position. This time, a 4-tire change on the 12th car. They'll make a wedge adjustment and an air pressure adjustment. 4 tires and fuel for Newman.
More problems with cars having trouble on pit road. The 70 car, Johnny Sauter, can't get it fired, coming off that career best finish of 5th.
DSC pressure. Get it over DSC pressure.
Finally, they spray some gasoline in and get the car to fire, cost him about 15 seconds. You see him going by the 40 car that's still sitting on pit road and actually going to push David Stremme back up pit road.
One difference I saw there is the 70 car had an actual container of fuel they were squirting down into the carburetor. These guys here just had ether like they were spraying into the intake manifold.
Well, this caution could have come at a better time for Kevin Harvick, because look, he's back on the lap right now.
Casey Mears on pit road. We are cautioned. We haven't had but 2 cautions today. One on lap 35, one on lap 67 as we stay green. Casey Mears getting his pit stop done. Whoa. Now we have not had a caution flag out because the incident situation on pit road. These guys were able to be out on a very wide pit road and cars could get by on both sides.
If this was on the exit or something, you might see that they throw a caution because this car's in the way. But these cars are able to get around the 40 car, keeping the track green.
Yeah, but right now I was alluding to Kevin Harvick back there with the problem he had earlier. The caution flag, if it would have come out, it would have really hurt him. These green flag pit stops now, the way it happened has really helped Kevin.
This is Doug Reapy, the rear tire carrier on the 40 car of David Stremme. These guys have got to be exhausted. They pushed this car all the way down pit road, and NASCAR will not let you go all the way to the end past that line, and they made them back it up and head back up to their pits and try to get this car refired for Stremme.
It's a real tough break for David Stremme. He's a guy that's looking for a ride next year, and he wants to get all the laps he can out.
Back up front, the 07 of Clint Boyer. You heard Jamie say he's already led more laps today than he had led all year long. He had led just 83 laps total through the first 26 races. Today, he has led 4 times for 103 laps. Back after these messages and a word from our ABC stations. Welcome back to Loudon, New Hampshire. We are under yellow for the third time today. You see the cross flags, and it's halfway, 150 laps in. Several cars on pit road, including Kevin Harvick. He was able to get back on that lead lap by virtue of everyone cycling through their pit stop. Now he gets a break by coming in under this yellow and gets back on the same sequence. Here's Jeff Burton, the 4-time winner, getting service on his Chevrolet. Big break for the 2 car.
Yeah, Kurt Busch is going to get his lap back now, and this gives him time to open the hood in that car and work on it, see what they can find wrong at least, because he's going to be at the back of the pack.
This can be a big break for Kurt Busch if they can find something wrong, but if they can't, there's not much they can do.
Time we can put gas in.
He was on 7 cylinders and had lost a lap to the leaders. Now he becomes the lucky dog and is able to go around and get the free pass. To get back on the lead lap. The 18 car, we are being told, J.J. Gailey, too fast exiting pit road, and he will go back to the tail end of the lead lap in the Joe Gibbs car. Big break for one of the chasers, Kurt Busch, having trouble internally. You saw Tim Brewer saying maybe it's a plug wire, hope it's something simple, maybe it's something more significant inside the engine. Let's go down to Allen.
So the crew lifts the hood and they want to look at those things. Corey Tucker, one of the car chiefs for the team, the chief mechanics, right center of the picture is one of the crew members under there looking. They're checking the plug wires. Kurt described the car to them as not popping or missing, but just being blah, as he described it on the radio. You see they have a temperature gauge underneath there also. They're checking the temperature of the cylinders with the temperature gauge to see if they can tell which one is cold, which one is the one that's not firing. That's a little gun in the mechanic on the left of the screen.
All right, boys, get ready to start. Get the hood down. Get the hood down so we can plug the gas, plug the gas.
You hear the team, the crew chief, Pat Tryson, calling out the spotter as well, telling the team where the pace car is so they get back out without losing the lap they just gained by the free pass.
Alan, the key to this whole thing is trying to figure out which cylinder it is that's not firing, and then they can start trying to diagnose the problem. So that's what they were using that temperature gauge for. They put it right on the exhaust pipes coming out of the engine, and if they find a cold one, that's the one that's not firing.
Crew trying to figure out if they've got the problem resolved, exactly what it is. I believe we're going to have him back in if they get a moment here. And while they decide what they're doing, let's check in with Susie Colbert for our race rundown.
And Jerry, a crucial issue because the NASCAR playoffs are on in the story in the FedEx race rundown. First of 10 races in the chase, 12 drivers qualified, 5 past champs running for the title. 2 first-timers in, including Clint Boyer, who's tired of being the only guy who hasn't run a race. He started on the pole and has led a ton of laps.
Clint Boyer's done an outstanding job. Like I say, he started out front. He's kept that race car clean. He's been fast all day, and he's marched his way back up to the front, even after race time.
Kevin Harvick came in seated 11th at the start of the chase, was running 6th on lap 133. The right front tire went flat.
Yeah, sometimes you're going to have these things happen, but if you can rebound from that, then you can keep yourself in the chase, and they've been able to do that.
Yeah, so far he's sitting there in 18th. And Doc, it's all about consistency in the chase.
You're exactly right, Susie. Clint Boyer trying to become the 4th first-time winner in 2007. He leads him down. And guys, the 3 drivers behind him that are chasing this hopeful first-time winner have combined for 7 NASCAR titles.
That's an incredible, when you think about that, guys, that's just something. How strong the front 10 guys are in this field. They're just incredibly fast. Right now, you see Jeff Gordon getting some track position and running down the 07 of Boyer. But look at all that smoke off of Green's car. He just really locked the wheels up getting into turn 3 there.
Yeah, it looked like Jeff Green locked up the right front wheel getting in the corner, which is kind of unusual. Usually they lock up the left front. You see a lot of smoke off these cars, especially after restart.
66 car is Jeff Green. Had one of his best runs of the year back in the spring where he finished 6th behind him, the 78 car. Now looking back, that is Joe Nemechek.
As they're getting really racy right now, the 42 car, Juan Pablo Montoya, is the first car a lap down, so he's trying to get his lap back.
Here's Montoya leading in the Rebestos Rookie of the Year point standings by a slim 14 points over David Reagan, getting a challenge from David Rudiman.
And Rudiman knows now, Jerry, that he's a lap down. He's the guy who's got a race to get that lap back, and they're going to be driving their brains out because Rudiman's trying to get around Juan Pablo Montoya right now to get in a position.
0 cars, Ruderman, and a lot of speculation as to where he will end up in 2008. Very promising young talent, and we're told that he wouldn't mind staying with Michael Waltrip in this Toyota team, but his phone's been ringing pretty aggressively the last week or so.
Yeah, I know there's some teams down in the garage area that are looking at David Ruderman. I think Richard Childress has got a seat open maybe in his 4th car. This might be a good guy to put in a car for Richard Childress.
I think a lot of people look how David Ruderman drives the car. He never tears the car up. He's fast. He works on his car. Very knowledgeable and liked by a lot of people.
Andy, you've been an owner and been a very good judge of young talent. Would you put David Ruderman in a car if you still had a car in competition?
Absolutely. This is the kind of guy you want. He's a good bright young man. He's a good person to be around, and he's got a lot of talent. When you look at him week in and week out, he is probably the best Toyota driver that's on the racetrack. So definitely, I would put David Ruderman in my car.
Hey guys, you talk about David Ruderman, and I might be a little biased because I'm his teammate, and I'm not his agent, but I'm telling Michael Waltrip and Ty Norris right now, they need to get this guy signed back up. He's got a lot of talent, and he's actually better than what his race car is right now. He's a really talented race driver, and hopefully we can keep him at Michael Waltrip Racing because I think he can bring victories in a championship in the years to come.
Well, Dale, they better start warming the pin up right now if they want to get Ruderman because this guy, he's really, really good, and he's one of the untapped guys out there that nobody knows where he's going, and he's going to end up somewhere very, very good and very, very shortly also.
Couple of chasers right there. The 5 car of Kyle Busch, and behind him Martin Truex. The 5 being shown in 8th position. Truex is 9th. Carl Edwards is right behind the 5th car, the lap car of Menard. There comes Carl in the 99 car. So 3 chasers being shown 8th, 9th, and 10th. Back up front, Clint Boyer having the kind of day that race drivers dream about. Only his 64th career start in a NASCAR Nextel Cup car. Take a look at our Ford lap leaders. Boyer has dominated, leading 116 laps. Tony Stewart 39. Ryan Newman, Casey Mears, and Kenny Schrader have led a single lap. Back in just a moment. Welcome back to Loudon, New Hampshire. We are under yellow for the 4th time today. A 4th caution flag coming out when that guy, Dave Blaney, spun in his Toyota. And that could be a huge lick or a huge down for this team. They're trying to get this car in the top 35 in the owner's points as we move toward 2008. Here's what happened.
Just looks like A.J. Allmendinger got in the left rear quarter panel of him, got him up in the wall, and like you said, Jerry, this is a real tough deal right now for this 22 team. They're 36 in the points.
If this had been the old car, this car had a lot more damage than that, though.
Dave?
Jimmy Johnson is in. They almost didn't make the call. It was hard to tell there at the edge of pit road. The grip was better for Jimmy Johnson, still edgy on the throttle. They'll make an air pressure adjustment to fix that. 2 tires, Mike.
Dale Jr. said his car was a lot better on that run, although he did expect it to get tight as they went on. They make a chassis adjustment and 4-tire change on the 8th. Jamie.
And Clint Boyer made his way down pit road, right sides only. He's down and away.
Right sides only for Tony Stewart. Right sides only for the 17 car of Matt Kenseth for the second time today. Bobby Reiser and company. And here is the race off pit road. Kenseth gains a spot. J.J. Yaley gains 7 positions. Greg Biffle up in the top 10. McMurray, both McMurray and Biffle having good runs today. The 2 car back in, and they are under the hood once again, trying to look like they were trying to set the timing here in the engine.
Looks like they're just trying to verify everything that's wrong also, and just try to fix everything they can with the amount of time they got.
We'll find out from Alan Bestwick exactly what's going on with the 2 car when we come back in just a moment to New Hampshire. Stay with us. Back at New Hampshire International Speedway, round 1 of the chase for the NASCAR Nextel Cup. Working caution number 4, the pace car will pull away, and Kyle Busch will lead him down. It'll be Busch, Casey Mears, and a good run for Reed Sorensen in the 41 car. He's third. Kevin Harvick bouncing back from that cut tire, now being shown all the way up in the 4th position.
Kyle Busch has struggled with this car earlier in the going. He's had 4 or 5 pit stops right now and talks on the radio to try to get it fixed. Got this thing up front right now. Alan, what's going on with the 2 car down there?
Oh, Rusty, one of the problems they're having right now is the cautions haven't been very long. Just minor spins, no oil, no debris to pick up. So about the time they get caught up, oh, trouble.
All right, we didn't hit nothing. Nobody hit us yet. Just stop right there. Get it running. Make sure we get her started here.
Bill Elliott involved in the 21 car. We were just talking about Kenny Schrader in the 21 car. Subbing for Bill Elliott this weekend in the 21. We were just talking about Reed Sorensen, how well he was running in 3rd position, and he became the victim there. The 21 car of Kenny Schrader and the 22 car, these are the guys that are battling for that elusive 35th spot in the owner's points, which guarantees you to make it in the race for the first 5 events in 2008.
They're battling hard, and you see the 21 and the 22 have had some problems. 22 car hit the wall. He's still running fast enough. These 2 cars run right together.
Back to the 41 car. We were talking about the great run that Reed Sorensen, Jimmy Elledge and company were having. Here's what happened just a moment ago going in the corner.
You see the 41 car just got in the corner real deep and got aero loose. That's what happens. Aerodynamics does have a big effect of these racetracks. And he got loose and got it stopped. Didn't tear anything up. Didn't go a lap down.
Inside corner. Spin in front of you. Go hot. Yeah, there you go. Good job. Caution.
Kevin Harvick just barely misses him. I mean, didn't hit him, but very, very close.
How many times in the last few weeks have we seen Kevin Harvick dodge a bullet on the racetrack when cars spin or have trouble and be able to somehow knife it through the opening there? A 21 car of Schrader spinning and coming down across the grass.
Quite a few of these chase guys dodged that. Jeff Gordon, Clint Boyer, all these guys dodged that crash, so it's a close call for all those guys.
Frustration and tempers flaring here. Watch Schrader in the 21 car.
I'm so sure this is frustration, or he's trying to maybe get all that grass off the front end of his car. We'll find out right here. This might just be trying to get that debris off the front grille that he got when he went through the grass.
Yeah, Kenny Schrader's not the type of guy that's going to go beat on somebody, and those two didn't get together, but that one there.
Well, I'm not so sure about that last one.
Well, I bet that last one got the grass off, though, didn't
Maybe it did, yeah.
We said, once I get the grass off, now I'll beat on it.
It's just about the time it says Schrader never gets mad, he got mad. So
he's going to have to come in anyway.
Yeah, there's the clods of grass under. Is clod a word? The clumps of grass on the front of the Kenny Schrader's car.
It's okay, Jerry. That is a word.
Okay, even with all the grass, little Debbie is still smiling on the hood. Let's check out our Allstate Good Hands move of the race on behalf of Kevin Harvick. Allstate will donate $1,000 to the Urban Youth Racing School. Now watch Harvick get through as the 41 spins.
It's an unbelievable job that Kevin Harvick does right here.
Got to have talent to do things like that, and Harvick's got a lot of talent, and that's the reason he made it in the chase for the championship.
That's what Harvick has been doing over the last few weeks, is being able to somehow knife his way through. Remember last week at Richmond, the big crunch on the front. Now watch the top of your screen. Watch Harvick somehow come out of this net and come all the way down through the grass to avoid these 3 and 4 cars. But the problem was he had so much grass on the front of the grill, it began to overheat.
Yeah, and I made a big deal out of that too, thinking it was going to blow the engine because of heat, but it didn't happen. Watch him here now. Another accident he avoids, gets around the outside of the 41 of Reed Sorensen.
Those kind of moves are things that'll win you a championship. That's how, when you have that kind of move and that kind of talent, you dodge that stuff and you can be there when that championship chase comes down. Dave?
And sometimes it's working with your spotter, and sometimes it's just your instinct. Spotter Billy O'Day said, go high. Oh, nuts. Hey, good job. Harvick chose low, and it was the right way to go.
Hey, guys, you know, sometimes I talked with Dale Earnhardt about this back in the 90s whenever I was battling for a championship, and he said, you know, those things right there are things that you'll remember more than victories in championship seasons. So if Kevin Harvick goes on to win this championship, he'll probably remember back to that move right there that really helped him win a championship.
Indeed, DJ. I can remember you dodging some of those bullets when you were able to go on and win that title back in 1999. Kyle Busch brings him down with a green flag. The younger of the Busch drivers is leading here, but the big question is what's going on with the 2 car, his older brother Kurt Busch. As you watch this chase, let's check in with Alan.
And Doc, right now he's trying to catch up with the pack. They came in on that caution flag, removed a spark plug. Remember we talked about them using a temperature gauge to see which one of the cylinders might have been down. They used that information to select a spark plug they thought perhaps could have been bad, removed it, sent Kurt around to keep on the lead lap, came back in a lap and a half later, just replaced the spark plug. Now he's trying to get out and stay ahead of the field, hope to catch another caution and get back up to the pack. We'll wait for word on the radio as to whether that fixed the problem or not.
We'll keep an eye on his lap times. That'll be a telltale sign whether they've got it fixed or not.
Leaders coming there now. As you heard Alan say, Kurt Busch is the last car on the lead lap, and he is not but about maybe a third of a lap in front of his younger brother Kyle, who is leading this race here on lap 174.
Whoa, check it out here. 3 wide, 4 wide.
All the way down on the bottom of the racetrack, the 45 car of Kyle Petty.
On these restarts, guys, they got the fresh tires, they got a lot of grip, and they just bonsai themselves around those racetracks trying to get all the positions they can.
Good news for Kurt Busch. I'm looking at his lap times. He just ran the lap time that's equal to the leader. They may have got that car fixed.
Thank heavens for a spark plug, huh? 22 and 21 cars are two guys that have had issues here in the last two yellow flags. Kenny Schrader in the 21 and 22 of Dave Blaney. These two teams battling ferociously down the stretch to be in the top 35 in the owners' points.
But right now, Blaney's one lap down, and so is Kenny Schrader. So this is the battle for to get in the top 35, like you said, Jerry. We'll have to keep an eye on these guys. But right now, there's only 19 points, I believe, difference in these guys. From 35th to 36. Awful close still.
Battle for ninth position. The 17 of Matt Kenseth is ninth. Martin Truex Jr., who started on the outside of the front row, is in 10th spot.
You watch these lap times again. Kyle Busch just turned a 30-31 to Kurt Busch's 30-66. So Andy, about 0.3 difference. But we're not for sure yet if Kurt's got this thing completely fixed. That could be just how much of a better car the 5 Kyle Busch has. 3 wide going at the corner, and boy, don't want to do that much.
96 is Tony Raines driving to get noticed for. Whoa, they just make a sandwich of the Dodge there. Juan Pablo Montoya on the bottom of the racetrack. That's Casey Keene in the 9 car who was in the middle. Now he goes up high.
Well, Montoya got a big break in that last time. He just got his lap back, and so he's back in a hunt right now. He's up in the 20th position.
There's 2 teammates swapping spots. 07. He's back on the march again. He's got such a great race car. Not going to keep him down long.
And the 8 car of Earnhardt Jr. spins it out, and will now.
They're all clear there. You got the 15 in the middle, 1 and 2 there. Middle 1 and 2 there. He didn't hit anything. 15 coming there. All clear.
You saw those guys racing really hard there in front of Dale Earnhardt Jr.
So loose, I can't control it.
Dale Jr. says he's so loose he can't control it. He's had a little mark in the right rear quarter panel in the back, a little dent in the left rear. So he's had contact on both sides of that car.
We saw the 8 car starting to back up in the field, and guys were going by, just hanging on. Now watch here what happened.
He just lost it right here.
Dale Jr. said the car is just so loose he can't hold on to it. There's no cars around him. He just flat lost it and spun it out. You bet they'll come down, put 4 tires on, and try to tighten that thing up, that's for sure.
This spin by Earnhardt Jr. and the 6th caution flag today, a big break for the 2 car of Kurt Busch, who was on the tail end of the lead lap, and now he'll get a chance to go all the way back around and not have to drive so hard to stay in front of his little brother Kyle, who's the leader. Back with a restart at New Hampshire in just a moment.
ESPN's coverage of NASCAR Nextel Cup Series on ABC. Brought to you by Chevy, an American Revolution. Shell, made to move. And the Principal Financial Group. We'll give you an edge.
We welcome you back to New Hampshire International Speedway. We are still under caution, about 10 seconds, and they'll go green. A couple of quick updates now. Kyle Busch is your leader. Jimmy Johnson, though, running 6th. Remember, he started out first in the chase. So right now, he would be the chase winner. Of course, there's a long way to go. Remember last year, he had a disaster at this track before he battled his way back. And so, Doctor, there's so much racing to go, we can't declare anything over when it's one of the last 10 races for the chase.
You're exactly right, Brent. So much drama building here, and it all begins here today. 12 drivers, 10 races, and 1 championship. Here's a guy who's not in the chase. He is on pit road, though, Dale Earnhardt Jr. with a very loose race car, spinning and bringing out the latest caution. 6th caution flag of the day. Well, folks, the top 6 cars in the race belong to just 2 teams. Rick Hendrick's cars are running 1st, 2nd, 5th, and 6th, and Richard Childress' cars are running 3rd and 4th. How strong are those 2 Chevy teams? Pace car pulls away. Young Kyle Busch, who won here a couple of years ago, will lead him down to the green flag at lap 184.
Like Kevin Harvick didn't get a good start there. He's holding up this outside lane. Here comes Jeff Gordon underneath him.
And that's what happens to this racetrack. It's a very, very slick track early on, especially in low air pressures. Harvick just needs a couple more laps to get the heat back in the tires, but he's getting roughed up right now.
3 wide.
Lap car on the inside of Riggs.
Jeff Gordon trying to go high. He'll open the lane up for himself and Jimmy Johnson, Tony Stewart, and others as they try to go to the outside around the 29 of Harvick.
And that's one of the toughest things in the world on the restarts, guys, to get a good, clean restart, get those tires warmed up. But right now, Harvick is trapped on the bottom of the track underneath Ryan Newman. He can't let that car run up and get the grip he needs. Now the 17 car is coming by. It's really making it rough on him. And he's got the lap car of Scott Riggs roughing him up behind him. Not hitting him, but aerodynamically messing him up.
Just looking, Kevin's just looking for an opening here.
You
He's got
understand,
one
he
right
won't
here.
turn. There's something wrong.
Up front is 07. Clint Boyer has run down Kyle Busch and will try to reassume the lead in the turn.
Now, Kevin Harvick just said there's something wrong. It won't turn. He really thinks he's got a problem. He just could have a tire going down or something like that. We'll have to stay on this one.
Kyle Busch and this team, they stayed out to get this track position, but they're going to have to pit in about 30, 35 laps. So he's going to have to be touch and go here looking for a caution. If he doesn't get one, he'll have to pit under green.
22 car of Dave Blaney. You just said if we don't get a caution, and Andy, we just got one. 7th caution flag today. And again, Dave Blaney bringing out a caution for the 2nd time. His Toyota spins around and comes up into contact with the wall.
That looks like an instant replay of his first spin.
Another break for a chase contender. Kevin Harvick complained about a problem with his car. He gets a caution flag to come down, put 4 tires in this thing, and try to find out what's wrong with his car.
Here's the spin this time with a 22 car. Watch the left side of your screen.
He definitely got some help from Regan Smith in the 01. Just tight racing there. I think it looked like the left front wheel locked up on Regan's car.
Dodging a bullet. Here's the 31 car. Jeff Burton.
Keep coming, keep coming. Caution's out, caution's out. Good job.
01 of Regan Smith. How important are those spotters?
And outside.
It's just 2 guys
Come on,
racing.
come on, come on, come on. All clear, all clear.
2 guys racing, just run out of room there.
Under caution for the 7th time today. This contact over in the turns as the 22 car of Dave Blaney comes up into contact with the wall. Carl Edwards in the 99 car. Watch the narrow escape for Carl as he just gets by. Back after these messages and a word from our ABC station. Welcome back to New Hampshire International Speedway. Lap 191, just 109 laps to go here in race number 1 of this 2007 NASCAR Nextel Cup chase to the championship. Our aerial coverage brought to you by the folks at Best Buy. As you watch Clint Boyer pulling away by about a half a second over Kyle Busch. Good run for Casey Mears back in 3rd spot in the 25 car. Great run for Mears in front of his teammate Jeff Gordon. Tony Stewart rounding out the top 5.
Right now, David Rudiman's holding on, trying to get the lucky dog to get back on the lead lap, and he's got Johnny Sauter right behind him, racing him for that same position.
There's a 0-0. Rudiman right behind Kyle Busch, and Rudiman is being shown in the 27th position as there are 26 cars on the lead lap. Couple of former champions battling fender to fender as Jeff Gordon will take that position away. That is the 4th spot. Then again, here comes Tony Stewart back on the inside. Not going to give it up that easy.
Well, Tony's not going to give up right now. Guys, you got to remember one thing. Going into this show, we talked about this is the most important race. These guys got to treat every single race now in this chase for the championship like it's the last one. And they're driving that way, too. They're driving hard.
Let's run along with our Wrangler telemetry and watch what's going on with Tony Stewart's Chevys. He's battling side by side with Gordon.
And Gordon was pretty smart on that one. He just backed out of the throttle, kind of got behind him. But unfortunately, it left the 12 car, Ryan Newman, a non-chase contender, get up alongside of him. Jamie?
Well, Jeff Gordon, you're looking out on your screen there. He's been battling his car all day, all different conditions, saying he's loose sometimes and he's tight other times. But one thing that stands out, he said he has no drive off. Rusty, what exactly is he talking about?
Oh, he's just loose, Jamie. He's spinning the rear tires up off the corner as he picks the throttle up. He puts the accelerator to the floor and the rear tires just light up in smoke, and he's trying to get better grip so he can run faster down that straightaway. That's what he's talking about.
Hey guys, one thing that you fight with these COT cars is you're trying to make the cars turn in the center. You hear us say that all the time. So we want them to rotate a little bit better there. But in doing that, to make that happen a lot of times, you have to give up some forward bite. So there, you really have to strike a balance as to what you want to have. And right now at this place, it looks like forward bite off the corner is something these guys really want.
DJ, has this problem been around for a long time with the car tomorrow? This loose off the corner forward bite complaint we're hearing a lot of these drivers saying?
You know, Rusty, when we first started with these cars, I think everybody said, wow, the one issue that you don't have is forward bite. But the one thing that we had was the cars were so tight in the center. As some other guys have gone and made their cars turn better in the center, which rolls a little bit more speed through the center of the corner, you give up that forward bite. Now everybody's making them turn through the center, and everybody's complaining about they don't have forward bite.
You drivers, you want your cake and eat it too.
Oh,
you got to fix both of them.
That's what you crew chiefs make the big money for, guys.
Well, I tell you, one guy's got plenty of forward bite, and he's moving forward in the field. It's the 48 car of Jimmy Johnson. Dave.
And one of the things that gives them forward motion, Doc, is a good coach, and Chad Knaus has learned how to be a good coach for these guys. This week on Wednesday, he gave the guys the day off at the end of the day, closed the shop early, and he and the 24 crews went to the Whitewater Rafting Center near Charlotte, North Carolina. It was that kind of 10-man rafting where you do whatever the guide says together to get yourself through the Series 4 rapids that you go to. And if you don't do it, then you flip over and everybody falls out. So it was a good team-building exercise, and he knew these guys needed a good blow before they got to the chase for the next tough cup. It's paying off in speed.
It was that kind of leadership and understanding of people that allowed Chad Knaus and company to win this championship a year ago. As you watch the 20 car move by the 25, that is for position. Tony Stewart takes the 3rd spot away. That's 3rd, 4th, and 5th on your screen. Then Stewart, Casey Mears, and Jeff Gordon. Now, of course, Jimmy Johnson won that championship in 2006, and we asked him, how tough is it to repeat and win 2 in a row?
It's such a long season, so difficult to win a championship, let alone back-to-back championships. I think the chase makes it more difficult to win a championship. After 26 races, you now have 12 guys within 50 points, roughly, of one another. So it's really, really tough to win a championship. And to repeat's even that much harder.
Last person to repeat as NASCAR Nextel Cup champion was his teammate, the guy he's battling with right there, Jeff Gordon, who won it in 1997 and 98.
The intensity level these teams have got to keep up over this 36 race NASCAR Next Cup Series is just incredible, like you said. Now, Andy, something like 20 straight that have been going on right now.
It seems like when you're the man, like Jimmy Johnson is right now, there's a target on your back. I know we won the championship back-to-back in '93 and '94, and it is harder to win that championship that second time just for that reason. Everybody on this racetrack is shooting for you.
Talk about how hard it is to repeat, but when you're that good and when your whole team is that good, not only do you get a chance to win a back-to-back, you hover at or near the top 5 in the points. Look at Jimmy Johnson's career. 5th, second, 5th, first, and currently first here in 2007, trying to win 2 in a row, although it's awfully tough to do. Thank you very much. Back at New Hampshire. Congratulations, by the way, to Brett Favre as you're watching Clint Boyer. By the way, Brett Favre is a good friend and of our Dale Jarrett, and also a very good friend of Matt Kenseth, who went up and watched the Packers play last week. Clint Boyer is setting sail. He has now officially led the most laps in this race. As you take a look at our Ford lap leaders, Boyer has led 5 times for 145 laps. Tony Stewart, second in laps led, 39. Kyle Busch, you see it, Ryan Newman, Casey Mears, and Ken Schrader have led 2 1-1 apiece. This is the first race in the 10-race chase. Now, how important is it to win a race, or maybe like Clint Boyer has done right now, lead the most laps? See what would happen for him. As of right now, with 90 laps to go, he would move all the way from 12th to 4th in this chase after one race, and that's how it would shuffle. You see that Kurt Busch, who is on 7 cylinders, would lose 7 positions.
Yeah, talking about Kurt Busch, he's almost a second behind the pace right now. The car's definitely got an engine problem somewhere, and they're still working on that to try to resolve that problem.
5 car of Kyle Busch hanging on in second spot with more. Let's check in with Alan.
And Doc, he did not pit under these last 5 caution flags. The last time we saw this 5 car on pit road was back at lap 140. That's how he took the lead. Now that we're across lap 200 and inside of 90 laps to go, the strategy is beginning to play out in this team's favor. If we get a caution in the next 20 laps, everybody will come to pit road. Could be their last stop of the race, and the 5 has gained all the track position by staying out. But if we don't get a caution then, and they have to pit under the green, and then the yellow comes out before the other leaders have to stop, then Kuji, Val, and Gustafson has taken a huge gamble in race 1 of the chase. The way the yellows have been flying, they're banking on getting a caution now. That'll make their move pay off. But you never know in racing now, do you?
Well, that's just an incredible gamble to take right now. It might pay off for him. You have to see. And, you know, he is right, Alan Gustafson. There's been a lot of caution plays happening right now. It could play in his favor.
Jeff Gordon in the 24 car is on the move. Now, if you look at our sprint speed lap, you'll see that a lap ago, Jeff Gordon was turning laps faster than Clint Boyer. So late in the day, that's when these guys that are champions or understand what it takes to win a championship start turning up the wick.
Yeah, we're inside of 100 laps to go now. So these guys are really starting to march and trying to get themselves in position for this last run.
Well, just about the time Jeff Gordon did that, Clint Boyer outran him the last lap again. So they've been swapping back and forth. It's kind of like how they get through the corner and what type of grip they get off the corner.
Hey guys, you know, we used to look at this race, the last 100 laps of it, that about 25% of it was run under caution. And with the 22-gallon fuel cells, a lot of times you could come in under laps 190 or 195, and even though you could only go 90 laps under green flag racing, you would have enough caution laps. But I think the COT cars have changed that strategy. So these guys are taking a real chance. I don't think there's as many cautions we saw in the first race up here we ran with a lot fewer cautions. I think because these cars are so hard to drive and they just don't handle as well that these guys aren't able to race side by side, which creates a lot of the cautions. So this is a real gamble the 5 guys are taking.
They're really in a vulnerable spot right now. They're going to have to pit in just a few laps for fuel under green. So it could put them, put them out to the dry here if that caution doesn't come out for them.
And remember, last year's cars had 22-gallon fuel cells. Now they have 18-gallon fuel cells.
Kyle Busch just radioed a moment ago, said I'll be on pit road in 10 laps. We'll take a quick break and come back and try to catch that pit stop in just a moment. Is available on ABC HD, presented by DLP HD TV. Less than a handful of laps now away from the pit stop on the 5 car. They rolled the dice. You heard Alan Bessick tell you what they were trying to accomplish. They definitely wanted to be able to get a caution flag and hope they got one so they would not have to pit under green and lose time to that car, the 07 of Clint Boyer.
Getting right down to the nitty-gritty here on that too, so I'm sure this 5 car is running on fumes. They're really looking for a caution flag. Then if they have to pit under green, they're going to look for the green flag to stay out. They don't want the caution to come out.
He might be able to pull one thing off, but I don't think he can get 2 things to happen. That is cake and eat it too, that one, if that happens.
Kyle Busch, the youngest driver ever to win at New Hampshire back in July of 2006, won it here at the age of 21 years, 2 months, and 14 days. He rolled the dice that day, had a good car, made a pit strategy call late in the day, and ended up being in victory lane. Very, very close on fuel for Kyle Busch. Just a couple of laps away, and according to the calculations and the fuel window, I don't see anything in his tank.
Looks like he ought to be on pit road right now to me looking at that. But that's just about what we're calculating here, is that he should be out of fuel.
They say he's got to come this time.
Baby. This time's nice and smooth here, just nice and smooth. 4 tires of fuel, guys. Got to get it full. Got to get it full.
Looks like our fuel gauge is right anyway.
Battle for 3rd position. That's Gordon and Stewart. Here comes the 5 car, and you heard the command from Alan Gustafson. We have got to get it fuel. Rusty waving that left hand.
He's waving his left hand, telling everybody behind him, I'm coming in. Don't run over me. He's going to get it to the bottom of the track, then hit pit road, and got to be careful not to speed coming down pit road. That could really kill him if that happens.
Jumps on the brakes, gets down to 45 miles per hour. Very lonely. Down to you, Alan.
Going to be a 4-tire change for Kyle Busch, hoping for a speedy, smooth, efficient stop. You see the right side work progressing. They'll come around the left side. Now what this team needs is for the caution to not wave until everybody else has come down pit road and made a stop. That's the only hope of saving their race right now. Jamie?
And you see Casey Mears into his pit box. He stayed out those last 2 cautions. So you guys know you're talking about running low on fuel. Casey Mears is running on fumes there. They're going to do 4 tires. No changes expected. They took a tear off that front windshield. And Casey Mears, that 25, is down and away in 14.3.
The 2 car of Kurt Busch now going a lap down. He will be listed in 27th position. Make that 26th position as the 07 car goes down.
Whoa! Then Boyer gets loose off turn 4.
He just joined our coverage. The 2 car of Kurt Busch had complained that he had an engine that was sluggish. They've been on and off pit road under the caution. Changed the spark plug. Thought it might be a spark plug wire or a plug. And the car has just not gotten any better. He is running off the pace now. And now goes a lap down here to the leader with just 73 laps to go. Just a few laps away from what should be the final pit stop of the day. We'll come back and cover it after these messages and a word from our ABC station. Back in New Hampshire, Clint Boyer continues to lead in pit stops, becoming the order of the day, the 17 car on pit road. Dave.
And Matt Kentz's car said it was really, really tough, Matt said, to turn it in the middle of the corner. Big wedge adjustment on the left side right there. A 4-tire stop finally for this guy who's made every chase so far, and a good recovery today with pit strategy early and a fast race car late. Jamie.
And Tony Stewart making his way down. 3/4 around a wedge, we're being told, for Tony Stewart. They're expected to take 4 tires. He gets the countdown into his pit box. Tony Stewart running solid all day. Hasn't quite gotten all the way to the front to lead some laps, though. And it's going to be 4 tires right side and left side for Tony Stewart. Let's go over to Alan Bestwick.
Championship chaser Carl Edwards just leaving his box after a 4-tire change and a jack bar adjustment. His spotter, Bobby Hudson, imploring him, don't speed, don't speed. A mistake like that now when you have to come back down pit road could be really costly.
And Jeff Gordon pulls into his pit box. 4 tires. He's saying he is so tight. They're going to make an air pressure adjustment. He said he was loose getting into 1 earlier. So they're expected, like I said, to take 4 tires. Minimal changes for Jeff Gordon. He's down. Let's go to Dave.
Kevin Harvick had to pit under the lap 188 caution when Dave Blaney spun. They changed 4 tires that time. Got the car quite good, but he had to restart 25th. Has been battling in traffic. Minor adjustments now to take Harvick to the end.
Kevin Harvick coming down pit road, and you hear these spotters all the time saying, please do not speed 45 miles an hour because you can ill afford to have to come back in. Speaking of coming in, here's Jeff Burton. Mike.
And over the last portion of that run, frustration was evident in Jeff Burton's voice. He's saying the car will not turn and the rear end just wants to slide out. A 4-tire change is expected on the 31 car as the team now swings to work on the left side and goes to service there, jacking it up and getting the car off the jack. We go to Jamie.
Clint Boyer, who has not been out of the top 5 all day, just dominated. 4 tires, no changes. Once again, that car continues to be stuck, and they're going to make those changes there on the tires, and Clint Boyer's down and away.
And Ryan Newman radioing in saying just too tight, 3 and 4. He called for the track bar adjustment. They took out 2 rounds.
Ryan Newman exiting. He has not won a race since 2 years ago here, 71 races ago. Had an awfully good car, has a good car today. The 1 car, Martin Truex Jr., who led 46 laps back in the spring, only to finish 3rd. Being shown our leader, the 1 comes down pit road and, whoa, tries to jam on the brakes to get that car woed down.
Do not speed, 4,600.
Martin Truex has had a real swing with this car. It went from the best it was to really tight, I cannot stand it, to pretty good right now. They stayed out to lead lap 238. Stayed out long enough to do that. 5 extra bonus points could be critical down the stretch here. 4-tire change for Truex. Going to be an air pressure adjustment. But again, he likes the car from here, and he leaves pit road.
Great pit work, 13.2 seconds for Truex's crew as he makes his final stop.
Well, guys, we thought that maybe the 5-car Kyle Busch, the pit strategy might not have worked, but right now he's in good shape. He's running 11th right now. He's on the lead lap. Gustafson's made a good call, and so 5 cars back in the hunt right now, and no problem there, Andy.
Yeah, the circumstances definitely worked out for him. Alan?
Still got to finish up this cycle of green flag stops for that all to come to complete fruition. Rusty, here is David Reagan, the rookie who had his career best finish a race to go at Richmond in. He started 38th today. He moved up into the top 20 in this race. A 4-tire change here for the young driver from Georgia.
Tony Raines in for what should be his final stop. Great effort for Tony today, trying to get a ride for 2008. J.J. Yaley will jump in this car, which will be a Toyota next year. Tony said that car in the top 15 for much of the afternoon. And how about Reed Sorensen? He was running 3rd when he had that spin about 70 laps ago. Has led 3 laps today.
This team seems to get real good gas mileage, so they're trying to use it to their advantage. Leaving Reed out here and maybe getting a caution, he could catch a few of these guys down a lap.
Yeah, Reed's been doing a really good job driving that car. Won that Busch race earlier in the year on the front row for the Brickyard 400. Had a good 5th place finish there, I remember that day. And I believe what happened there is what got him re-signed with Chip Ganassi Racing. So the kid's really coming on and doing a good job.
working over A.J. Allmendinger pretty good here. See, Matt Kenseth now, he's down a lap to this 41. He wants to get by him to get back on the lead lap.
Kenseth being shown in 14th position. There are 13 cars on the lead lap unless Kenseth can make the pass. Kenseth has the fresh tires. Sorensen still hasn't made his pit stop. Dave.
And Doc, they plan to pit in about 2 laps. You mentioned the spin that he had. He had raced back up to the 14th position, made a great recovery for these guys. Right now, Reed just complaining a little bit loose going into the corner, tight coming off the corner, but a great recovery. And from the July race, when failed bump stops actually caused them to have to change a right front shock, and they had to give up all their track positions. So they've run well here this year, much better today than in July.
These guys have to put a bump stop. We hear that a lot. What that is that's something on the shock to keep this front splitter or the front of the car from hitting the racetrack. They put this stop on there to stop the suspension travel.
A little plastic sleeves, like you said, Andy, the bump stops, they can actually change those on a pit stop. They can come down pit road and change them. And in fact, we heard Dale Earnhardt Jr. earlier in the race commenting that they did that.
The brake heat has been kind of causing problems with those things, causing them to fail on some cars, and that's what happened to this car the last race up here.
41 car of Reed Sorensen has now led a total of 7 laps. You're watching ESPN on ABC.
Back to New Hampshire International Speedway. The story in the FedEx race rundown. First of 10 races in the chase, 12 drivers qualified. Clint Boyer started out in 12th, the only guy who hasn't won a race this season. He's dominated today. He already has 10 bonus points for leading a lap and most laps. Kevin Harvick came in seated 11th. He was running 6th until lap 133. A right front tire went flat, but Harvick stuck with it. And this is what championship racing is all about. Harvick makes the great move to avoid disaster. So far, in terms of the chase, Kurt Busch in the most trouble with engine issues. Doc, back up to you.
Thank you, Susie. Kurt Busch is being shown down a lap, and they were watching the 8 car getting ready to pit. There's Dale Earnhardt Jr. waving at left hand, indicating he's going to slow down and make what should be his final stop. Earnhardt Jr. was the leader. And when he peels off, that will give the lead back to Clint Boyer in the 07. Earnhardt Jr. making his final stop. trying to pick up a win despite the fact that he is not in the chase. Wants to win some down the stretch here. He's headed down to you, Mike.
And as a result of not being in the chase, Doc, he certainly had the chance to gamble there. Waited as long as he could, hoping for a caution. It did not come out. They're down pit road, expecting a 4-tire change on the 8 car. Dale Earnhardt Jr. has been struggling most of the day. This is a car they didn't get much practice with. They made a lot of changes after Friday's practice, but when practice was rained out on Saturday, they really did not know what they had today, and they're struggling because of it. They're away.
Earnhardt Jr. back out with 47 laps to go. Here's Juan Pablo Montoya, who is being shown in 3rd position for his final stop. Alan.
Running as high as 3rd, Doc. They chose to play a strategy game as well, leaving Montoya out as long as possible because they've been struggling all day with this car, hoping to catch a caution that would keep them on the lead lap. It's not going to work out that way. Final pit stop here for Montoya.
Leader is Clint Boyer in the 07. For more information on pit stops, you can log on to ESPN.com. Search word safety. Clint Boyer has had the kind of day that only drivers can dream about. He has led 6 times for 176 laps. Whoa, and he near missed behind Jeff Green, who was peeling off to make a pit stop.
Tony Raines fighting to stay on the lead lap. Got a pretty good car. Clint Boyer's got the best car.
The Boyer's a leader. Jeff Gordon in the 24 car is in 2nd position. The 20 car of Tony Stewart in 3rd spot. There's Gordon, the 2nd place car. There's Tony Stewart coming into your frame. And of course, how about the 5 car? That great pit strategy by Alan Gustafson worked out for Kyle Busch. He's now being shown in the 4th position. 45 laps to go in round 1 of the chase of the Nextel Cup. Right now, they're chasing Boyer. Laps are winding down in race number 1 as we head to a championship here. Race 1 of 10 in NASCAR's chase of the Nextel Cup. Talk about championship fever coming up tonight just down about an hour south of us in Beantown. Sunday night baseball, and how you don't get much better than the rivalry between the Boston Red Sox and the New York Yankees. That's where John Miller and company are standing by. John?
Okay, Jerry, and as the NASCAR Playoff Series has begun today up there in New Hampshire, we're standing by here at Fenway. It's the final game of the regular season series between the first place Red Sox and the wild card leading Yankees. And as we saw again yesterday, as people are already lined up waiting to get in tonight, these two better rivals tend to play tense, bruising battles. Youkilis got hit hard yesterday. Henske took out Posada at the plate. And then Giambi got hit by Beckett in apparent retaliation for Youkilis. The umpire issued a warning to both sides. Tonight, two power pitching veterans on the mound. Roger Clemens for the Yankees, Curt Schilling with the Red Sox. They go head-to-head for the first time since Game 7 of the 2001 World Series. So, Jerry, you're absolutely right. It's the Yankees, the Red Sox. You won't want to miss it. Sunday Night Baseball at 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific, right here on ESPN. And the Yankees are arriving at the old ballpark in the Back Bay. Let's go back to the race, Jerry.
Thank you very much, John. Doesn't get much better than that. Curt Schilling, the 6-time All-Star and former World Series co-MVP. Roger Clemens, a 7-time Cy Young Award winner, just an hour south of here. And boy, wouldn't it great to be a sports fan in New England this time of year. You start sniffing that championship. You got the Red Sox, you got the Patriots and in Foxborough, and you got NASCAR taking the center stage here in Loudon, New Hampshire.
Well, let's go down here after the race and check it out. It's just a short drive, right?
You got it.
07 car Clint Boyer just having a fantastic day today. His lap times, he's been faster than anybody throughout the day. And if he can hold it together for the next 36 laps, this could be his first one this year. I don't want to jinx him, so I'm not going to say it yet.
Laps are winding down. What's happening now between the drivers and crews here among the top three? Clint Boyer, Jeff Gordon, and Tony Stewart. Let's listen in.
Got a little bit more flow on the wheel there, Gil. They took the air off the car. We got looser back there. Does it seem like that's happening on this car, too? We're just trying to figure something out for that. Like one of the worst cars out here for the first 5-6 laps. It's unbelievable how little grip we've got.
Yeah, almost closer to dead center of the corner and a little past. It feels like we need some shock in the front, but I don't know what we can do to work around that. It just needs to be, it needs to roll the center third. If you broke it up in even thirds, the entire center third just needs to roll better.
That's interesting to see just what all these guys are fighting. You hear all these guys have something just a little bit different that they're dealing with.
Yeah, I like the feedback that Tony Stewart's giving to his crew chief, Cipodelli. He's talking about roll the center third. He's just trying to look for some more speed. He's out of the throttle there longer than he wants to be. And if they're going to work on something, that's it. But I'm afraid right now with 34 laps to go, what they got is what they got.
And I'm not sure any of them have anything for the 07 of Clint Boyer. What's going through that young man's mind in the 07? His 64th career start. He's 28 years of age, from Emporia, Kansas. He has never won on the NASCAR Nextel Cup Series Tour. Could he become the fourth first-time winner in 2007? And remember, he's trying to overcome history. He has never run well here. His best finish in 3 tries, a dismal 24th back in September of a year ago. is available on ABC HD, presented by DLP HD TV. Laps are winding down. Great crowd on hand here at Loudon, New Hampshire. Great early entry to the fall here. And this aerial coverage brought to you by our friends at Best Buy. 91,000 seats there filled. There's folks in the infield watching race number 1 in this 10-race chase for the NASCAR Nextel Cup here in 2007. They could be seeing history made as well. Not only could Clint Boyer get his first victory, if he could hang on, it will be the first time in the modern history of NASCAR that we've had 43 cars start a race and 43 cars finish a race. Looking back from Kevin Harvick's onboard camera, and that is not a good sight for Kevin Harvick because the leader, his teammate, is moving in.
Yeah, it's the last thing you want to see right now, especially when you're a chase contender like Harvick is. And Boyer, again, keeps ripping out these fast laps. A couple laps ago, he slowed up about 0.3 seconds, only because he was navigating through traffic, and Gordon ran him down a little bit, but now Boyer's pulled back away.
Gil Martin, his crew chief, has got this car dialed in perfect for Clint. They haven't made a change on it all day long. And Clint knows how to make a car go around here. He was Robbie Gordon's crew chief when he won his first race here in 2001.
Battle for 11th position, the Chevy and Ford. The 11 is Denny Hamlin. The 99, the Roush Fenway car of Carl Edwards. Onboard camera shot showing you exactly watch Hamlin slide up, and the 99 car trying to get on the inside, but Hamlin jumps back in that throttle up high. Alan Bessel.
You know, Doc, to win a championship, a team is going to have to deal with problems as they present themselves. For Carl Edwards, one of the championship chasers, his problems here were on Friday when he crashed during practice. His team brought out this car, the backup car, the only 2 laps it ran on the racetrack before the start of today's race. They're 2 time trial laps. No practice yesterday because of rain. If they can get a top 15 finish today after overcoming that this weekend, that's a pretty good way to start a championship chase. They'd like more naturally, but that's not bad considering the way things looked on Friday.
Side-by-side action, the 17 car of Matt Kenseth. Talk about comebacks. He qualified 30 and 30th and languished back into about 25th to 28th in the first third of this race, and then has been slowly and steadily moving his way toward the top 5.
Yeah, his lap times are pretty good too. Currently he's in the 7th position. Like you said, Jerry, started in the back of the pack, and this is something that's pretty common for this team to have happen. Dave?
And Rusty, talking with crew chief Robbie Rice this morning, he told me we're not in a position to win a championship. I don't want to sugarcoat it. We haven't run well in anything. We're just trying to get our cars to run decent. And I think they've accomplished that today. They used a 2-tire stop early to get up track, as you guys mentioned that. But they've really done a good job of dialing that car in to be fast. And that's what they've been lacking heading into the chase.
Getting a top 10 finish here today would be a big step for these guys, because this was one race that they were not looking at as being one of those they could capitalize on.
48-1 car, couple of Chevys side by side. Jimmy Johnson, reigning Cup champion and points leader coming in. Martin Truex trying to take the spot away. That is the 5th position.
And he does that on the bottom of the racetrack, and now the 48 is trying to get him back on the outside, but just can't get it done. And a lot of teams are looking at the 1 car, Martin Truex, coming into this race, especially his teammate, Dale Earnhardt Jr. Martin was so strong here the first race.
Yeah, Truex led 46 laps back in the spring and finished 3rd. But here is the guy that just had a remarkable day, the 07 of Clint Boyer. Jamie.
And Doc, he's remained cool, calm, and collected all race long up until about 10 laps ago, and that pressure is starting to mount.
Oh, man, I'm tight.
You got to time it. Back the corner up, beat him up off, get him in a straightaway. You can't beat him underneath him.
I'm telling you, Dylan, I'm way too tight.
Working on him, man. You'll be all right. There you go. Now get your mind back together.
And Clint Boyer yelling about his car being tight. As you heard Andy Petrie say a few moments ago, they haven't made an adjustment on this car all day long, but the temperatures are coming down, the car's starting to get tight, and the pressure is mounting as Clint Boyer looks to take home his first ever NASCAR Nextel Cup victory. Doc?
You can tell that Clint is just so close to winning his first race. He's a little bit frustrated, really up on the wheel, paying a lot of attention, but he can say all that stuff, guys, but he can't come down pit road and fix it. It's only 19 to go.
Do you remember what you felt like when you were in his shoes and you were just laps away from winning your first big race here in NASCAR Cup?
You know, absolutely, Jerry. It's just gut-wrenching. It's really hard on you, and you're hearing things that are going wrong with a car that really aren't going wrong.
You got Gordon hung in traffic right here, which is a big-time advantage for Clint Boyer.
Yeah, that really helps Clint Boyer with the 24 being hung in traffic right now. But Clint's got a pretty good lead. He's just got to hit every single point on the racetrack perfect. And don't get distracted and stay focused.
7 car of Robbie Gordon, who was having a pretty good run slowing. It's like part of a piece of a brake duct or something, just wavering underneath the car, but he gets slowed down. Here was just 17 laps ago. Robbie, by the way, a former winner here at New Hampshire. And here's the 19 car. It's been on and off pit road a couple of times. Alan?
Changing the battery. Doc, electrical troubles for Elliott Sadler. He tried to ride it out to the finish. This came up about 15, 17 laps ago. Couldn't make it. Just started to lose power.
And you can see that car really starting to slow, Alan. He's just getting passed by every single car out there. And Andy, you well know, you've had your drivers call you and tell you, hey, it's missing. And they said, look at the amp gauge on the dashboard. It said 0. You know right away what the problem is.
And batteries are hard to change on the pit stop.
Looking back from Kevin Harvick's car. Now, it was Kevin Harvick who had to run a year ago in this race. Harvick led 196 laps to win. Today, it's his teammate. That guy's closing in, Clint Boyer. That has led 206 laps thus far.
Well, right now, with 16 laps to go, Kevin can't do much. He's working his brains out to try to stay in that lead lap. But he doesn't want to hurt Clint Boyer either in this attempt, because this is going to be his first win if he can pull this thing off this year.
Each of these guys are running their own race. They all both want to do the best they can, but like you said, Clint Boyer.
And this has got to be a tough one on Richard Childress right now, watching this. He feels for both of them, and now Clint gets by. He's clear sail, and that was a smart thing to do out of Kevin. It really helped him.
Harvick just gave it to him. He wants to see this guy run good, too, and get a win.
That was the perfect point when Richard Childress stands up and then sits back down.
Jeff Gordon still in pretty heavy traffic. Here's a laps are clicking away. There's Gordon in the 24 car inside of David Reagan. The third place car is Tony Stewart.
Right now, the 24 car of Jeff Gordon's about a half a straightaway behind Clint Boyer. And Boyer's got a really clean run in front of him. No traffic in front of him right now. Probably about 45 cars before he catches the next car, Clint Boyer.
Tony Stewart now trying to work in behind the 66 of Jeff Green. Stewart in third position.
Stewart gets loose getting in the corner right there. A little arrow loose. The 01 got on his bumper, made it dance around. But Tony got away from him.
Whoa, a little bit loose there again as the 01 you see right in front of Tony Reyes. Now the fourth place car is Kyle Busch.
Kyle's had a solid car throughout the day. A little scared in the pit strategy early on, but that paid out for him. And his lap times have been right up there with the leaders, you know, very, very close throughout the day. And it's just all about track position right now. Who can get close to Clint Boyer, if anybody?
Back in sixth position, we talked about the car that had the great run here in the spring. Out of Dale Earnhardt Incorporated, that would be the one of Martin Truex Jr. We asked Martin, why didn't you bring the car back that you ran so well with in spring and led all those laps and finished third? He said that was the car we won with at Dover. We're saving it for next week when we go to Dover, Delaware.
And you know, these guys, from the first race to the second race, the setups really change a lot, don't they? Learn so much, it seems like.
Especially with a new car like this, it seems like this learning curve is pretty steep. So these guys are learning something every week that's helping these cars. So just because you had a good car here the last race doesn't mean that you'll have a good car the next time you come.
So is it pretty safe to say that the setup they ran the first race is not like the second race?
It'll probably be different.
Jimmy Johnson in the 48 car, and we had some sad news that Jimmy Johnson, one of his close friends, and certainly an individual we're all familiar with, Colin McRae, lost his life in a helicopter crash yesterday in Scotland. The crash killed 4 people, including, Colin, the former world rally car champion. With him were his 5-year-old son, Johnny, family friends, Graham Duncan, and a 6-year-old Ben Porcelli. So a very tough news for all of us who have followed Colin McRae's career over the years, and we saw him with that performance at the X Games this year, and a terrible tragedy for the motorsports community yesterday in Scotland with that helicopter crash. Our thoughts and prayers go out to the McRae family and their friends. 17 car of Matt Kenseth. Now, all 7 of the top 7 cars are chase contenders, so the cream does indeed rise to the top here as we are inside of 10 laps to go, and the top 7 are all the drivers who are battling for the Nextel Cup title.
This is one team that always does seem to do that. Matt Kenseth's style is to show up at the end of the race, get the best finish. This team doesn't beat themselves either. That's the key thing.
Well, there's one thing for sure. Everybody in this field wants a caution right now, except for the 07. He doesn't need it. He's got a big lead. And you
get some sort of vibration up off the corner. 10-4, you're fine.
That's exactly what happens for a driver who's going to win. He's feeling everything with this car, a vibration off the corner.
NASCAR really is about fulfilling the American dream. Remember, Rusty Wallace came from the Missouri, from a family who worked very hard with a couple of small town businesses and became a champion. Clint Boyer came from the Midwest, from Emporia, Kansas. Grew up driving, slipping and sliding sideways on the dirt track. Clint says his biggest career moment was when a few years ago, as a huge Elvis Presley fan, he got a chance to meet Lisa Marie. He said, that is my career highlight until I get my first win. And guess what, Lisa Marie, you may move to second because he's 6 laps away from winning his first NASCAR Nextel Cup race.
Well, I think the band Aerosmith, Steven Tyler, weren't those
Harvick
the guys?
said slow down some.
Weren't those the guys that picked him to win this race? That would be something they can say they did and predicted if it happens.
We just heard Mike Dillon, the spotter, say Harvick said slow down some. I think Kevin's trying to give him a little advice here so he doesn't get too excited.
Nice and smooth, just like you have all day, buddy.
You don't need to pass nobody. Nobody's catching us. 77.
There's Kevin Harvick, his teammate, being shown back in 17th spot. He's the first car a lap down.
Clint Boyer's got a 6-second lead. He doesn't need to make a mistake here trying to go too fast. And that's what Kevin Harvick's trying to give him, that little bit of advice.
And right now, if Clint Boyer can hold on and win this race, he's went from 12th in the points all the way up to 4th right now. His teammate Kevin Harvick's holding in 10th position right now in the chase, the Nextel Cup Championship.
Clint Boyer has led more laps today in one race than he has in his entire 63-race NASCAR Nextel Cup Series career. What a day for Clint Boyer.
And what a time to do it here. Starting to chase off. He kind of snuck in there, but now he's just said, now I'm going to be one of the guys to beat.
Richard Childress has really done a lot of work on this car tomorrow, a lot of research and development, a lot of testing, but this team here, the 48 that Jimmy Johnson has also. And Jimmy was so dominant last week at Richmond, I thought we'd see the same thing out of him again, but another strong finish, or another strong run out of Johnson, running 6 right now.
Be 2 laps to go next time by. Clint Boyer, who grew up in Kansas, in central Kansas, said he was a huge college basketball fan. He loved the Kansas Jayhawks. He loved the National Football League. A huge Kansas City Chiefs fan, said, someday as a kid I dreamed of being on that pedestal, being in the major leagues. You don't get much more major than NASCAR Nextel Cup stock car racing. And here's a young man that's 1 lap away, a lap and a half away from realizing a dream.
Well, if he can win this thing, he's going to be a huge New Hampshire Speedway fan also, because a lot of drivers like running this racetrack. It's very challenging, but right now, Clint Boyer's
mastering it. We don't need to pass them. The next car is to our back. Just stay right there.
Yeah, Mike Dillon doesn't want him to get in trouble here with this lap traffic on the last lap.
Yeah, do not pass him. That's about the only time you hear a spotter say, don't pass somebody. Just stay there. And Clint needs to do that.
Clint Boyer, 28 years of age, realizing a dream. His 64th career start. He is 2 turns away from that first Cup victory.
Get your zone on, boys! Woohoo! Yes! Yes, yes, yes! Woo! Way to go, boy! Way to go, boy! Woo! I knew we could do it. Good job, boys. Proud of you.
Total jubilation, celebration. Clint Boyer. You can imagine what's happening in downtown Emporia, Kansas right now, because, folks, You talk about a great effort today. Clint Boyer dominated and led 6 times for 222 laps, and Gil Martin and the entire crew down there for Richard Childress celebrating.
Well, take a look at this. We've always said if you're going to win the chase for the championship, we really feel like you need to win. And guess what? This guy's in there. He's won.
There's Jeff Burton, his teammate, pulling up beside of him. Too bad that Richard Childress couldn't be here to see this. He's in Mongolia hunting.
I thought he was down there standing up. Standing up in Mongolia, maybe. Okay.
Kevin Harvick comes by to congratulate his teammate, as does Jeff Burton. And now the run begins. Race number 1 in the chase, and Clint Boyer becomes the 4th first-time winner.
Yeah, that looks good. That looks good. That's good. Keep it going. Keep it going. That's good. Keep it going, baby.
We'll be back after these messages and a word from our ABC stations. Back at Loudon, New Hampshire, history being made here in race number 1 of the 2007 Chase for the NASCAR Nextel Cup. The 4th first-time winner in 2007, a 28-year-old from Emporia, Kansas. Clint Boyer gets his first win in his 64th career start. Now, he did so many donuts down there that the car would not refire, so they're having to push the car to victory lane. Meanwhile, the driver is already headed there. Let's go down to Jamie Little.
Well, Doc, it's a very non-traditional victory lane. First time he's here, and he's here without his car. So, Clint, what happened out there? Did you blow it up or what?
I don't know. It wouldn't start. I think I was a little hard on it in the burnout, but it don't matter. It was an unbelievable job. Hats off to Gil and everybody. I knew we could do it. You know, Jack Daniels Chevrolet was fast. I just want to thank everybody, DirecTV, Chevrolet, everybody that helps us, Camping World. It's just an unbelievable day.
Clint, yesterday I asked you what sets you apart from the other chasers, and you said, I'm the only one without a victory. How did you overcome the pressure of your first chase, not finishing well here in the past, to bring home victory and dominate like you did?
I'm not going to kid you. I was about to throw up those last 30 laps, but it's unbelievable. I'm just so proud of these guys. And Ford, back home, we took 2 tires for you. That's Gil's boy. He'd be proud of us. But just proud of everybody. Wish Richard would have been here. He's on Mongolia. I'm sure he's partying now.
Clint, what does this say for all the naysayers that are like, how did Clint Boyer get in the chase and he hasn't won yet? When is he going to win? What does this have to say to them and your competition for the rest of the chase?
Well, hopefully it just proves that we earned a spot here and we're here for a reason, and just so happy to be a part of the chase. It's such a neat deal, and hey, this is the NASCAR Cup, baby.
Clint, I have to ask you, those last few laps, how many different things were you coming up with in your mind that could have possibly gone wrong with your car?
Yeah, what's funny was I was starting to feel a vibration up off the corners, but I don't know what it was. It's just, you hear every rattle, squeak, bang in that thing, and everybody racing. I was watching up ahead, making sure. I was hoping, praying that nobody would crash. So thankfully, caution didn't come, and we kept it out front.
What a big day. Clint Boyer in victory lane for the first time for his first Nextel Cup victory.